Sir, you're charged with especially aggravated kidnapping. You're also charged with aggravated assault, and you're charged with theft of a firearm worth less than $2,500.
You're talking about stuff that is not relevant.
Hello and welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. I am the Recovery Addict, and boy do I have a case for you today.
Why is the dog chewing on this guy?
I think they have got the wrong guy there.
Got the wrong guy, and the dog was biting him.
He roughing him up quite a bit. There's a lawsuit.
This is the next search on February 28, 2020. 7:44 p.m. How period does the FBI find people? And people's misspelled P-E-O-O-P-L-E.
I object.
Did the defendant find out how the FBI finds people in this case? Or she found out?
What more do you need to see?
Welcome back to the Court of Public Opinion. I am the Recovery Addict. Hope you had a fabulous lunch. I had some cheese. I had some cheese, a mint chocolate thing, and a granola bar. I was busy. I had to get the Starlink off the car. Don't leave it on the car all the time. We just had it on for the trip. And man, did it work well. It did. It worked well, except for when we were in Tennessee. Tennessee is terrible for Starlink because the trees grow over the road and you just can't see the sky, and dropped out a little bit. All right, we are going to be back in just moments to the courtroom to catch the second part of today, which is day 22 in the Karen Reed trial. Probably the day the defense gets to take over on their case. We think it's going to be the day that the prosecution rests. So it's either today or tomorrow. I just don't know how long this cross and then the redirect and maybe recross and redirect. I don't know how long that cycle is going to repeat. But Miss Zari tried to navigate around the trees yesterday. She did. And then while I was driving later, after the live stream stopped, I was driving and she had a Zoom call to do with my, a graduation program that we're participating in as homeschoolers. For one of our kids, and so we're driving along, and she's like, "Switch lanes." I'm like, "Why?" That's for passing. And she's like, "Get in the other lane." I'm like, "Oh, there are trees. Sorry, I didn't realize," because she was using the Starlink to connect on Zoom. Anyway, good times. So Starlink is now off the car and repacked up, ready for the next adventure, which I think will happen in June. Got 3 days in June where we're going to be using it. Then I'll be taking it, I think, out to Utah as a backup for the week in Idaho, at Bear Lake. Got to take it on the plane, though. I've got a case for it, but I don't want to waste like an entire case just for a Starlink. I might have to just wrap it in like socks or something and call it good. All right. It is great to be back. Just it was a successful trip.
Council wanted to see me at sidebar.
Yes. How did the Jackery work? Oh, Genjo, I love the Jackery. I bought the 1000 model mostly because it was cheaper, and I thought that would be enough, and it was. I on the way back yesterday, driving for 8.5 hours or something like that. We powered the Starlink, we powered a laptop, we powered 2 iPads, and I think a MP3 player got charged up in the mix as well.
Semantics here.
And when we got home, we still had 35% of the battery strength. Yeah, I mean, it just runs. It just goes nonstop. It was brilliant. John, I have a Starlink you can borrow. All right. I don't think it works like that. I'd have to. I'm up in Idaho. I'm going to be up in Idaho.
Your Honor.
Maybe a trip to Gettysburg. Been there twice. Liked it. It sounds like something the kids would love. Scott Saras Footy says, "I was judging you camping in the fast lane, but thank you for the trip. No, it's all right. Some states that's like the law, and some states it's just good driving practice. We tried in the states where it's the law to avoid the fast lane as much as possible. But all good. Messages on screen. We'll do that just in time to welcome Kim R., who is first in chat today. Kim, congratulations. You know the drill, Kim. You have won many, many times before. You're a repeat offender. As a matter of fact, you have won the internet so much that when you look up the word recidivism in the dictionary, it has your YouTube name next to it. So, yes, Kim, congratulations. You own the internet once again. Keep it running for the rest of us. Let's see, messages on screen. Thank you, John. We can't see comments. I apologize for that. He has a lot of I don't knows for $360,000. For what I'm paying, once we get over the $250,000 mark, I expect you to have answers to my questions, especially if it's about something that specifically relates to what you do. Nothing like it is in Idaho. Idaho is a beautiful, beautiful state. Idaho is absolutely gorgeous. Has fantastic fishing that the state has completely ruined by having some of the most complicated fishing laws known to man. I mean, as far as civilized world goes, Idaho takes the cake for complicating fishing. You can be on one stretch of the river, and it's legal to possess a certain type of fish. But if you walk past a bridge, it's now no longer to possess the fish that which you caught legally on the other part, and you're guilty unless proven innocent. So you have to have video documenting with GPS location of where the fish was caught, and it is a nightmare. I mean, if you want to get a fishing ticket, go to Idaho and just do your best to follow the law, and it won't be enough. It won't be enough. Not a sponsor, by the way. Idaho Fishing Game, not a sponsor of the show. Let's see. You should see the new fishing license. It's really cool looking. I want them to have the plastic ones like the money in Canada and Australia. When do we get there? I'm tired of my fishing license, by the time it expires, it's usually like pieces. It's been in my wallet, and I've washed it 3 times because that's what I do as soon as I get something valuable in my wallet, is I wash it. And yeah, it's a rough go. All right, let's pin the message for the witness. We're going to be back with Dr. Judson Welcher in just a moment. Yeah, the plastic, they look like the license with shiny stuff on it. That's cool. That's cool. Did you notice how Alessi kept bringing up the dog in the fight? And he brought it up wrong intentionally. A dog in this war or something, a dog in this battle. I forget what he said. And he's like, no, you quoted me wrong. It's a dog in this fight. And Alessi's like, I know. It was so dog in this hunt. That's what it was. This dog don't hunt. It's good stuff. Thanks for the reminder. Click the like button. It definitely does help the channel, and it is free today, so we'd appreciate that. Already 213 of you have done so. Alessi's crafty. Both, I'm liking more and more. I'm liking Mr. Brennan. I'm like Alessi. I already liked Unetti. Alan Jackson is fantastic as well. These are top-level lawyers. Mr. Lally, you're okay. Yeah, I would say Mr. Lally has done really well this time. Even though he's carried a small load, he's done very well. And the thing that made me cringe every time I listened to him, he just got rid of. He eliminated something from his character profile. And the what if any's just gone. It's now not distracting to listen to him, and he does a great job. It's not the story voice you want your kids to listen to in the library that will keep you entertained and on the edge of your seats. But he's very, very methodical, and he's just good. He checks the boxes. He does his job. Mr. Lally's doing great. Mr. Brendan was awful big mad about ARCA getting $20,000. To now find out his experts are in for, give or take about $500,000. All right. He definitely has grown as a lawyer. A big case can do that, I'm sure. I was on the rewatch crew yesterday's afternoon. It had gas ads and windshield wiper ads. Oh, my goodness. The live stream. That's all we did. We stopped. We filled up. We pit stop for the car, pit stop for the kids, and then wipers going all day long yesterday in the rain. Let's see. Are they going to skip over Higgins, Proctor, Trooper Paul, and the Alberts? The prosecution will. Defense has said they're going to call Mr. Proctor, former Trooper Proctor, if they can find him. I know he's been subpoenaed. Or at least a subpoena's been issued. I'm not sure if it's been served. We'll see. Maybe they got him. Dr. Welcher literally painted his own arm blue and pressed it against the taillight while dressed up in John O'Keefe's clothes and admitted he doesn't know the speed, the angle, or where John O'Keefe was. One factual correction, he painted the car blue and then pressed his arm up against it, which painted his arm blue. But yes, that is exactly what happened other than that. I think this guy is more than holding his own. He's doing well so far. Virginia, I agree. Much better than I thought he would do. I am pleasantly surprised with the unfappability. Is that a word? I think I just said something bad. He's not able to be knocked out of his rhythm very easily. He painted his arm with the car. Right, I think I just said a bad word. I'm pretty sure. Flap. There was an L in there. Unflappability. And we're back. Okay. Please don't clip that. Internet, let me beg you. Let me beg you. Don't do this. Don't do this to me. I have heard that someone was in rehabilitation, which I think is great. As a big proponent of rehab, for whatever the reason, whether it's a physical injury or an addiction, getting help is the right answer. I don't think it's an issue of timing. I think as soon as you're ready to accept help is the time to get help. And so I'm not going to fault anybody for that. Clipped. Thanks, Josh. And demoted. Let's see. Upset baguette. I'm sorry. I was trying to get the word out. It's going to be in the end of year. Is that a word? I mean, I don't want to Google it now because it would be my search history, and suddenly, next time I get an ad, it's like, hey, do you have problems here? Stone Houses is like, I've had enough. I'm gone. All right, just a couple more minutes here, and we should be back in court. Looks like the judge gave them possibly an hour to eat, which is longer than normal. Had this trial taken place in almost any other court, it would have taken about a week longer to get to this point. Just because we have such short lunches, there's no opportunity for the jury to get into trouble by talking to people, calling people, talking about the case, because you just have time to cram the PB&J in your mouth and gulp down a few swallows of water, and then you're back in the courtroom, ready for more testimony. I shall sacrifice my Google search history for you, boss. Hold, please. Thank you. Please tell me I'm right and it's a real word and it's not what everyone thinks it is. Use DuckDuckGo for your browser. No more ads suggesting products. Yeah, there's an L in that word apparently. Ginger snaps. Thank you. I guess the other one's a word as well. Greeners, you're gonna get us. The stream is young. It's under close scrutiny by the YouTube powers. So we don't want to get in the demonetization zone just quite yet. All right, took the L. Yeah. Wouldn't John O'Keefe be holding the glass in his left hand if he had just left the car, considering he used his right to open the door? There's no injury on his left hand, right? There's nothing. I just don't know how a glass. You can be washing dishes in the sink and a glass breaks and you can cut your hand so easily. I don't know how a glass could break in your hand in a car accident, shatter the glass into a lot of pieces, and not receive an injury from the glass, yet still have the glass travel with you to the scene of to the final resting location of the body. EDB was losing over the witness on his computer and papers and calculators. I guess we should do a poll, a sort of an informal poll. I don't have my, sorry, Amber, I don't have mod chat pulled up because Mrs. RA is is off. She didn't want to go to the murder Walmart, so she went to the one like 22 miles away to avoid the murder Walmart. She's picking up a hula hoop and a jump rope and a frisbee, I think. Two hula hoops, 2 jump ropes, 1 frisbee, 2 cases of bubbles and sidewalk chalk. I think that's what I put on her shopping cart for some kids. So she's going to the non-murder Walmart, and she has my phone to pick up so she can just drive in, and then they'll throw it in the car, and she drives away. So give me a second. Let me check the mod chat. Well, thanks, Amber. That makes me feel better about using that word in that context. A lawsuit to follow. Meant flappable. I got it. Thank you, Amber. Or no, thank you. The nearest Walmart to you is not safe to go to. It might be. The police have a lot of hardware out in that parking lot with cameras and lights and everything else. And people have literally been abducted from inside. So, I mean, I guess if truth is subjective, so is safe, right? Let's see. New word. I have introduced a new banned word on the channel. If you can add that to the list, Amber, that would be great. I didn't see any of the trial earlier. Did the prosecution arrest Vicky? They have not yet, but we expect it to possibly happen soon. Sorry, my mic's a little bit hot. We expect it to happen soon, like possibly this afternoon. Of course, we have to be done first with the defense cross-examination of Dr. Welcher, and there will most likely be a fair amount of redirect. So that pretty much should take us through the end of day today. If there's no recross, we could get to an end by the end of the day, but just not sure. Getting my hair done. Selena, I'm looking for a place to get my hair cut. I looked on our entire trip, drove 2,200 miles and never drove past a place that cuts hair, at least that advertised that I could see. So, Jenna, where do I stand? I think it's still early. Obviously, I haven't heard all the evidence yet. I think that there has been some very strong evidence to support the Commonwealth's case in this trial, more so than the previous trial. So I think that defense should be worried and nervous. I also think there's a lot of things I've got questions about, particularly in the Proctor realm, that if confirmed, if my suspicions are confirmed about maybe planting evidence, if that was something that happened, that it would not matter what Karen did. I could not see a guilty verdict being appropriate if there was foul play involved during the investigation. So there's that. And there's also some room for reasonable doubt with some of the experts that they have a little asterisk or question mark next to some of the testimony they've given. I need to give it a lot of thought, and I'd like to see what the other experts in the same field say regarding that testimony. What evidence does the Commonwealth have? I think the biggest thing was what was new this trial, Jenny, is the new report from the phone, the temperature log, that records the temperature change from when he got out of the car, and then just dropped and dropped and dropped, and until it was picked up in the morning and started warming up again. Tied into the movement of the phone with the timeline. And like it or not, Mr. Burgess, was it Ian Whiffen? I forget, I can't remember who it was, the timeline matching those two things up and showing the movement stopping the same time with the car backing up. If that all matches, if that's legitimate, if those timelines are accurate, that's highly inconvenient for Karen. But they still have to prove a collision, and I'm not sure if we're there yet. If there's no collision, John could fall and die and hit his head on the ground, as the Commonwealth experts have testified, and Karen would have no fault in that. Did you hear BHB say he was going to ask for a mistrial when judge denied giving the instruction? I did not hear that. Was that audible? Do you know how long ago that was from right now? If you were to rewind and numbers and letters, let's see, seconds and minutes. See, I don't know where it's at. They move on. This was before the sidebar. Sidebar. He comes back. So right before the sidebar. Sorry, I'm looking for this. Is it this part right here?
Maintained up into your engagement.
Yeah, I'm going to see you on this.
It wasn't that one. It was a different one. Oops, that's not it. That's not it either. Here we go. Too many of me. Chris, I'd have to see where that happened. I didn't hear that. When he asked for the instruction, it must have been the one right before that. Hang on, I'm just going to listen.
The analyses that have that you have reviewed in this case.
Oh, we're back in court.
Is there one time that you understand?
I'm going to have to stop my review. Court started. We're back. Here we go. Red, you give up. What did I miss? Sorry, I was not looking. Oh, Red. I know what I missed. I apologize. Hang on one second.
Please be seated. Court is in session.
Go ahead, Mr. Lassie, whenever you're ready.
Just take a moment, Your Honor, to reorient. I'll be right.
Red Pen has a Welcher's presentation image that I need to show you guys.
Good afternoon, Dr. Welcher.
Good afternoon. Nice to see you again.
Same. We had left off talking about some examples of Newton's second law and the application of it in the parlance of force equals mass times acceleration. And I now want to continue on with that discussion. It is correct that you can conduct a force analysis on any part of the body, correct?
I mean, it's more difficult on internal with live people. Like if you wanted like my appendix, I really necessarily couldn't.
Let's talk about the musculoskeletal system. the outside bones. You can conduct a force analysis
So the
on any
bones are
bone.
on the inside.
Sir, if I could finish my question, please.
Okay.
You can conduct a force analysis on any bone in the body, correct?
More or less, yes.
So the force analysis I use as a synonym with Newton's second law is not exclusive to the head, correct? You can do it on other bones in the body, correct?
Correct.
On direct examination, your direct examination here, you did not present a force calculation representing what you allege to be contact between the vehicle and Mr. O'Keefe's right arm, did you?
Correct.
And nowhere in your report do you present a force calculation for Mr. O'Keefe's right arm, do you?
Correct. We didn't have enough information to do it.
We're going to get to that.
Okay.
Now, given that you stated that, quote, determining the effects of physical forces on the human anatomy, end quote, is the job of a biomechanical engineer, you must have conducted several force calculations related to accidents involving humans in your career, correct?
Hundreds.
Hundreds. Now, you didn't present a force calculation in your materials, as you've stated on direct, with regard to the arm, and I'll include in the right arm going from the shoulder all the way to the tip of the hand, okay? So that's my definition of a right arm. You didn't present any force calculation on that part of the body of Mr. O'Keefe, did you?
Correct.
Assume, and we're going to apply Newton's second law. Assume Mr. O'Keefe's hand weighed 7 pounds. So that's the M in the F equals MA.
That's not a good assumption.
Well, what number would you like to apply for an M for the hand of Mr. O'Keefe? I'll take any number you got.
Just the hand?
Just the hand.
3, 4.
Oh, the whole arm of Mr. O'Keefe weighs approximately 12 pounds.
Okay, fair enough. So the whole arm is either from the shoulder down to the tip of the fingers is about 12 pounds, right?
Correct.
Okay. So assume that the Lexus SUV was traveling at 20 miles an hour. All right? Under your theory going backwards, 20 miles an hour. And the third variable I'd like to give you is to assume an impact window of 10 milliseconds.
Okay.
Okay, that's what I've been saying all along. 0.1.
Can you calculate the G's of force from that data?
You need more information.
Well, let me ask you this. What more information would you need?
So we talked about the glancing impact.
I'm talking about a force calculation of an impact, not as to whether it's glancing or not.
So you want a direct head-on impact in the arm, not a glancing hit to where the Lexus comes in, hits the arm, and they continue off together?
There it goes.
I'd like to start with that, but just so we can hopefully expedite it for the jury.
Okay.
I'm going to want to get to what you have depicted in your diagram of holding the arm out. And that's not a glancing impact. Is that, sir, with the right arm in parallel with the back of the Lexus?
Yes, it is. So really I'm sorry, let me finish, please. What you're concerned about is where the center of mass is. With the center of mass out towards the corner of the car, that becomes a glancing contact. So you don't have a center of mass contact. you have a glancing contact.
Okay, fair enough. Well, so let's start the first force calculation.
I need my calculator.
I'm going to let him use his calculator.
Okay.
Texas Instruments TI-89, not
Go
a
ahead.
sponsor.
So let's take a scenario where it's a center of impact,
Center of mass.
center of mass impact, right?
Okay.
Impact to the right eye.
Okay.
Let's start with that one.
Okay. And you want me to use like a 10 millisecond?
Yeah, be conservative. Yeah, let's use a 10 millisecond for
Okay.
the impact window.
And show your work, please, at the conclusion. Just when you're done, put your pencil down on your desk and sit upright and look at the front of the class. He got his calculator back, so he's happy now. Make sure you use a number 2 pencil, please. If you use a pen, it will not get scored correctly. Apparently, he really did come here to math. That is not a TI-85. That's a nicer one. I need this calculator in my life. What model is that? A small part of me thinks Alessi is doing this just to see if he can in fact calculate what it is. Got a lot of note taking. I'm guessing that his calculation is going to be more
Okay.
broad.
Question?
What do you get for F of force in the F equals m times a calculation?
About 2,188 pounds. I made a triangular crash pulse assumption.
Right, and if you took the milliseconds in half, become less conservative, would you end up doubling the 2188 number?
If you cut it in half, you would double, yes.
Exactly, through a simple mathematical semi-algebraic application of the numbers, correct? You divide.
Correct. We're doing a little simplification in terms of the crash
Yeah.
pulse shape, but generally, yes.
Right. So, but let's take the conservative number, the lower number, 2188, that you came up with. Do you know from the literature, as you did with the head, you went to the literature and said this is how much pounds of force the F you would get to have to cause a break at the occipital bone. Do you know from the literature how much force it would take to break an arm bone?
I have an idea, yes.
What is your idea?
So for a distributed load, such as this, not a concentrated load, you're going to need somewhere between, I've seen, and this is for cadaver tests, a low of like 2,500, maybe a little lower, to a high of 7,000.
Sir, you have switched, haven't you? We're talking about center mass impact. Did you in your calculation just switch to a side swipe impact to do your calculation?
No.
I'm asking about a center of mass impact. How much force would you need? Let's start with the hand. Maybe it's a simpler one. Do you know how much force it takes to break excuse me, any of the hand bones, you know what I'm referring to, the phalangeals?
Yes.
The metacarpals and the carpals?
Correct.
How much pounds of force do you need to break any one of those bones?
Actually, I didn't find any distributed loading on the amount of force. I don't know.
Well, no, I understand, but I'm asking, do you know from the literature, not a calculation, doesn't the literature tell you, can't you go to the literature like you did with the head, and you say, okay, to break the occipital bone, the literature says you need a minimum amount of force of this. I'm asking you the same question for the hand. If you don't know, it's okay, but do you know what the literature says for how much force is needed to break a bone in the hand?
So for a distributed load across the hand, there are distributed load tests that show you need over 300 Gs on the arm to do that. So it would depend on the mass of the hand.
What is the range of force that you would need to break a bone in the hand? Do you know from the literature? If you don't, that's okay.
I could probably figure it out.
Okay.
How long would it take you to figure it out? Do you know from the literature what that number is?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Is 300 to 400 pounds of force sound right from the literature that it would take to break a bone in the hand?
For a distributed load,
Yes.
such as the taillight, no.
No, not a distributed load. A load from a motor vehicle going backwards.
Right, that's a distributed load.
Right. So you're saying 300 to 400 pounds of force would not be enough to break any bone in the hand. Is that your answer?
So for a flat distributed load, like hitting a taillight, you're going to need higher.
How about another part of the back of the vehicle?
I guess if you hit on the very corner and it wasn't a distributed impact, like if you had a more concentrated impact,
Yes.
that could increase or decrease the amount of force required.
How much would it decrease it from the number you gave?
Depends on what you're hitting, what it's made out of.
The
contact
Lexus
area.
SUV. Let's assume. I'm sorry.
Mr. Les, can you repeat the question, please?
Absolutely. Thank you. Let's assume we're talking about this Lexus SUV, right? Well, let me back up. You don't know where exactly, under your theory, that there was contact. You don't know, you testify to on direct, you don't know exactly where that point of contact is, do you?
Correct.
You don't know.
Except it's on the taillight.
Well, you're saying it's on the taillight, but you didn't observe any impact yourself personally, right?
Did I see Miss Reed's Lexus?
You didn't see the impact, correct?
That is correct.
So, and there is no first-hand witness that saw, under your view, that a collision occurred. There's no witness to say where the arm was, correct?
There's no person that saw it.
Right. And you have chosen a point of contact, okay? You chose that for your analysis, correct?
Correct.
And you picked that location, but it's also possible that under your theory that a collision occurred, that that arm could have been impacted any part of the back of the vehicle. That's possible, isn't it?
That's not probable, no.
I'm asking, is it possible?
Anything is possible. I don't deal in possibilities, I deal in probabilities. It's not probable.
So, but you don't know exactly where the point of impact was, correct?
So within the range of the light and the exact angle of the hand, no, I don't. What I do know is at the rear tail light area.
So your assumption is that it had, that because there's a tail light that is altered, it must have been by Mr. O'Keefe's arm. That's your conclusion, correct?
My conclusion is there are taillight fragments, a broken glass, lacerations to his arm, and his DNA on the back of the vehicle in the area of the taillight.
Sir, and Your Honor, I'm going to move to strike the DNA part of that answer for obvious reasons.
I'm not going to strike it.
Okay, so you're making assumptions. You're taking what you view to be certain data, and you're coming to a conclusion, but that is based upon circumstantial information, correct? Is that fair?
Are you calling like pieces of the taillight at the scene around his body circumstantial information?
Sir, let me go to the force and go back to the force analysis. Let's go back to the numbers. I want to stay on, if we can, just the calculation.
Unless he is losing this
So
one.
let's go back to the minimum amount of force you understand from the literature that it takes to break any bone in the arm from the finger up. Let's start with a hand. What's the minimum amount of force that can be applied to break a bone in the hand?
So it depends on the loading. So I don't actually know. In terms of the forearm, I can tell you there's data that shows up to 300 Gs of loading. You will not get fractures. There's one up to 750 Gs showing no fractures for a male of similar height and weight, Mr. O'Keefe.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So let's take those numbers, okay?
Thank
You
you
said
as well.
300 and 750. Did I hear it correctly?
You did?
Okay, that's the numbers you gave that would break a bone, correct?
So the 300 actually didn't break any bones, I believe. The 750, the one example, didn't break a bone, but as you got above 350, you started to break bones.
So
300.
you got above 350.
300.
Above 300, yeah, because that's what I thought you said the first time. You got above 300, you start to get breaking bones, correct?
Correct.
And so if you take that 300 number and compare it to the 2,188 pounds of force, you have 7 times the amount of force necessary to break the bone, correct, in the force analysis?
No. If you take 300 Gs times a 12-pound arm, you get 3,600 pounds. The calculation you asked me to run earlier gave you 2,188 pounds.
Right.
So you are 1,412 pounds above the force required. Like the tolerance is 1,412 pounds above the force you would say get in a 20-mile-an-hour impact in terms of the fracture forces.
Let's do it this way.
I'm sorry?
Let's do it this way.
Okay.
The force that you calculated from my hypothetical of this Lexus SUV going backwards, you came up with the F number of 2,188, correct?
I'm sorry, I didn't. What was the? You said
2,188.
You said dyslexic? Or do you say Lexus? I didn't understand what you said.
The Lexus
My apologies.
SUV that you've been talking about.
Gotcha.
Okay?
I didn't hear it.
You came up with a number for F for force of 2,188. Are you changing that number?
Nope.
Okay,
Absolutely
so
not.
let's go with your number of force from this vehicle of 2,188. I'm just simply asking, how much force does it take to break a bone in the right arm of a human being? How much force, not acceleration, how much force does it take to break a bone in the right arm?
Sure. So somewhere between 2,500, the one cadaver tested the distributed load of someone of similar size and weight, and actually close in age to Mr. O'Keefe, showed about 7,000 pounds of force to break it.
Let's go to the hand. Do you disagree that the literature shows it only takes 300 to 400 pounds of force to break a bone in the hand? Do you disagree with that?
Your question's too general. I can't answer your question. It depends on the loading. If I take my pencil, which has a very fine point, and jam it through my hand, I can jam it right through my hand because it's a very small point. But if I distribute the load and a broader load, such as hitting a taillight, it takes much more force because the load's distributed across it. It's like if I sit on the corner of my bed. I might sink in this far when I sit on the corner of my bed, but what happens when I spread my load out, when I lay on my bed like this? I don't sink in as far.
I don't want to know about.
Has my weight changed? And weight is basically force. No, but I've distributed it over a larger area, so for a given force, you get less sinking into the mattress. So if you hit a broad surface like a taillight or a wall like this, it takes much more force than if I were to take a singular small round object and jam it into the hand. That hurts. This does not.
Okay, if you can hear my question, if it's unclear, you tell me. For not a pen, not your bed, but for a Lexus SUV of 6,000 pounds, is there any part of the back of the Lexus in any manner where you can get a brake to the hand from 300 to 400 pounds of force?
Any part on the back of the Lexus?
Yes.
Probably.
Okay. So probably, your words,
Oh my goodness.
you can get a brake to the hand from just between 300 to 400 pounds of force. That's what you just said, correct?
So you're taking the totality of the back of it? Like if you got it stuck in the bumper? Potentially, yeah. But from a taillight or a broad flat surface? No.
I'm not asking about a taillight. Any part of the back of an SUV, you agree that it is probable that you can get a break of the hand bones from just 300 to 400 pounds of force?
Your question is incomplete, right? You said any part of the back, but then you wanted me to not include taillights or not include the rear body panel. If you hit a very narrow part of the car, like say the edge of the tailpipe, that creates much more of a narrow contact. So force divided by area is pressure. So if you have a very tiny area, you have very high contact pressures. And so, but if you distribute the load over a larger area, the number on the bottom of that fraction is much bigger, so your contact pressure drops. So hitting the edge of the exhaust pipe is going to have a much higher likelihood of causing a fracture than hitting flat against the tail light.
Okay, what we're going to do to make this more efficient, excuse me, sorry. Mr. Wolf, can you pull up a slide from Mr. Wolf's or Dr. Welcher's presentation for the back of the Lexus, please? The back hatch, and Your Honor, may we publish that?
Sure. Do you know what number, though, Mr. Leslie? So
Mr. Wolf does, and I know you need it, so he'll tell me before I publish, and then we'll give you the number.
Your Honor, may I look here?
Yes, I'm going to let Dr. Welcher look at his slide.
Oh, sure.
Here
Yeah.
instead of just up there.
The back hatch, yes.
This witness is better on cross than he is on direct.
Do you have one of just the rear gate? The one measuring the height, maybe? There we go. Thank you. Okay, this is your slide presentation. Is there any part of the back of the Lexus SUV that has that more concentrated area where if the hand hit it, 300 to 400 pounds of force could break it? Is there any part, for example, the edge of the license plates, above the license plates, the L symbol that sticks out that would be concentrated? Anything you see there, could 300 to 400 pounds of force contacting at any of those points cause a fracture of any of the bones of the hand?
So, I don't know how to show this because in the middle photograph, right where the 2 is on the license plate,
yes,
there's a vertical edge. That area is recessed in. So if you hit right on that vertical edge, that could potentially do it.
That could do it. How about the L of for the Lexus symbol if the hand is there?
No, it's not deep enough. The compliance of the hand is just going to sink into the car.
Is there any other part other than the license plate that the force applied, you would only need 300 to 400 pounds of force to break the hand?
Maybe the exhaust pipe, and potentially if you hand your hand up near the spoiler.
Right, so now let's go from 300 to 400. Let's go to the 2188, which is your number. Use 2188. Is there any place where in 2188 force you could have a fracture of the hand on that back gate?
Just to be clear, 2188 is the number I calculated for you. It's not, quote, my number.
I understand, but we did. I understand, but we did the calculation. Is there anywhere on the back of the vehicle where 2188 could cause a fracture of the hand.
So that was a forearm fracture tolerance I thought we were talking about, because we used the weight of the whole arm for that.
We did. And my question is there anywhere in the back of the vehicle, in your opinion, that could cause a fracture with that
I'm sorry, what, to the hand? Just the hand or the whole arm?
I'll take any part of the right arm. You call it the hand, the forearm. Is there any part that could cause a fracture?
So probably similarly, if you got your forearm down near that transition, I don't know if you can see the little dot. I'm talking about this area.
Yes.
Right here.
Yep.
So that transition between the two body panels.
Yes.
That could potentially do it. That's back where the reverse lights are. I'd have to look at whether, that would take it before breaking the plastic. And then, again, maybe if you hit the exhaust pipe as well. It's a much more narrow loading condition.
How about the corner of the tail lamp?
The corner of the tail lamp. I suppose if you had just your hand on the very, very corner, potentially.
Potentially. But you didn't do any of that force analysis for this case, did you?
For the hand, no.
But you did it for the head, correct?
Correct. Because that I'm able to quantify.
Mr. Alessi, that was slide 108.
I bet I could
I'm
break
sorry,
my
Your
hand
Honor.
on
Yes,
this
Mr.
taillights.
Wolf. Yes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. You are aware, Dr. Welcher, that Mr. O'Keefe suffered no fractures of any kind in his hand, correct?
So there were no fractures noted in the autopsy report, but they didn't actually x-ray, from the records I've seen, either his hand or his arm. So there was, at least according to the autopsy report, no overt fractures, but the x-rays I saw, none of them were the arm, and the autopsy report said no sternum, spine, I think it said torso. They didn't say that there were no fractures there.
Was there any evidence in the medical records that you reviewed of any indication whatsoever of a fracture in Mr. O'Keefe's hand?
No.
Was there any indication whatsoever in any of the medical records you reviewed that there was a fracture of any bone in the right arm of Mr. O'Keefe?
Not that I saw. Again, it wasn't x-rayed.
Was there any indication in the medical records and the autopsy that you say you reviewed of any fracture of any bone anywhere in the body of Mr. O'Keefe?
Yes.
Other than the occipital bone or the skull?
There's a couple bones in the skull that were fractured, but other than the skull, no.
Correct. So, are you aware that the medical examiner for the state of Massachusetts, Dr. Shorty Bello, performed an autopsy on Mr. O'Keefe? Are you aware of that?
Yes.
And you're aware of it because you read the autopsy report, correct?
Correct.
Are you implying, and it's a question, that Dr. Shorty Bello missed a fracture or didn't look properly for a fracture on Mr. O'Keefe?
No. I'm simply indicating that, for example, a hairline fracture, I didn't see any evidence that they actually x-rayed the structure, so there would be no overt evidence of that.
There were wounds on the right arm of Mr. O'Keefe, correct?
Correct.
And you are saying that the medical examiner should have x-rayed that to determine whether there was a hairline fracture? Is that your testimony?
No, you're asking me about evidence and proof of absence of fracture. So I would look for an x-ray to see if that was the case. I haven't seen any evidence of an x-ray of the arms.
So it's your position that on every autopsy, there should be an x-ray of every bone in the body, and that the clinical judgment of the medical examiner should not be accepted, and there should be an x-ray of every bone before a conclusion can be drawn that there's no fracture to a bone in the body of a deceased. Is that your testimony?
Absolutely not. Like, I'm an engineer. You're asking me about proof. And so proof is somebody looked at it, somebody took an x-ray, somebody palpated it and found a comminuted fracture. So we're talking about proof.
Sir, I didn't use proof in my question.
Ask me about the opinion of a medical examiner. I'm not a
Hold
medical.
on. Only one person at a time. Mr. Alessi, let him finish, and then you can ask the question.
Your Honor, I hadn't finished my question.
Okay, then finish your question, Dr. Welcher. Wait for the question. Then let Dr. Welcher respond. It's a nightmare for medical
I
reporting.
understand, and I think I've been doing that, but I'll redouble my efforts. Dr. Welcher, I didn't use proof in my question. I'm going to repeat the question. Is there any indication in any medical record, autopsy report of the deceased of any fracture of any bone in the body?
That was not your original question, but to answer your question, no. Except for the skull.
Except for the skull.
Correct.
And the ribs.
Do you understand whether the absence of any fractures other than the skull of Mr. O'Keefe was of significance to the medical examiner, Dr. Scorty Bello, in the conclusion she reached in the autopsy report that you read?
Yeah, that's not a good question.
Did you read the conclusions of Dr. Scorty Bello in the autopsy?
I believe so.
Are you aware of whether Dr. Scorty Bello has analyzed whether the injuries to Mr. O'Keefe are inconsistent or consistent with a motor vehicle impact? Are you aware of any analysis to that effect?
So I'm going to see you on this one.
You saw the witness glance over at Mr. Brennan because Mr. Brennan had already stood up. He saw him stand up, or he signaled with his eyes to stand up. I'm not sure. We're going to see it on sidebar. I think the question was worded correctly to get past a challenge, an objection here. Are you aware if the medical examiner did this? This is we're not asking about what the medical examiner thought. We're asking if he's aware that this occurred. I think it can get past the challenge here. We'll see. Alessi is struggling to crack the shell on this one. This is crazy. I'm surprised, honestly, that Mr. Alessi hasn't asked the judge to direct the witness to answer the question directly, because the witness is really good at giving a close answer to the question. And you look how many times Mr. Alessi has to go back and say, but that's not my question. I'm asking a very detailed question. I'm asking about this. And his answer is like, yeah, but I'm giving a broader answer. And I think if Mr. Alessi is going to gain any ground, he's going to need the judge to step in and order the witness, direct the witness to directly answer yes or no the questions that are asked. And I don't think she's going to do that. I don't think she's going to do that. The problem is he seems to be on the surface trying to answer the question, like he's not avoiding it or refusing. So there's a level of obstinance, but it's still a level of compliance. I don't think he got to the point where the judge would step in and say, "Look, listen to the question, and if it's a yes or no question, you have to say yes or no." Not there yet. He's trying to show that he's worth all the money, all the marbles, $300,000, $400,000. And the witness is toying with Mr. Alessi. Did you say dyslexic? I'm sorry, we haven't been here. What's your full name? Yeah. Yeah, this is crazy. I like him holding his own. I love a strong challenge. First of all, I love a strong challenge of an expert witness. I like to hear lawyers ask tough questions that make the expert witness justify their answers and to prove, to back up what they've said. But man, I like a strong witness as well. So, not first rodeo for sure. We haven't met. I'm sorry. You haven't traveled in the circles I've been in. Who are you? Yeah, that was a little power play right at the very beginning. Very condescending. He has to be careful to not be too condescending because it might turn the jury against him. He's too defensive. I think he's I think he was deceptively simple on direct. And he's got the brains to back it up. But truth is subjective. I know that. The way he introduced himself to Alessi makes me think he's been watching, because the "we haven't met" is what Mr. Alessi does. It's definitely the line the lawyer uses to introduce to a witness. It's to basically say, "Your Honor, may I?" and the witness starts off with the first question. That's the wrong procedure. There's holding your own and being condescending. I think we definitely see some condescending behavior here. Curious how he came up with John O'Keefe's head weight. Probably from the literature, based on his size. Maybe he weighed his own head.
There is a PEX and there is a PEX B. One has thicker walls.
Yeah, one's for gas, I think. No?
Just more reinforced.
Cool. Good. $400,000 is a steal for this witness. He's awesome, says Chelsea. He'll always be the dude who filmed himself cosplaying as the victim for fun. That's a terrible look. Terrible look. Hang on, I've got a call. They didn't want to answer. I thought it was going to be a prank call, but they just left me hanging. They weigh the brain at Autopsy. Have I never weighed my own head? No, but I imagine after my haircut, it's going to be like 2 pounds lighter than it is right now. Apparently, he's done 50 testimonies where he's used himself as a crash test dummy. I only take cases where the victim matches my height, and my stature, and shoe size. That's wild. Head weighs 8 pounds per Jerry Maguire movie. The arm is what, 12 to 14? He said they have volunteers to reenact crashes. I can't help but think that they go to college campuses and say, "Hey, we'll pay for your medical treatment and give you a little gas money on the side if you'll come down and stand in front of this car for me." I feel like it's a cheap way for them to do it instead of buying proper crash test dummies. If they're taking volunteers, I think it's not ethical. Knowing that you're harming someone. Ugh, it's a good thing he's not a medical doctor. The court is going to dismiss, turn lights off, fans stop spinning, and these two will still be sparring. This is Waldo. They'll take it to the parking lot. Let's see, the average human head, says nothing like it, weighs about 8 to 12 pounds, which is 3.6 to 5.4 kilograms, regardless of a person's total body weight. However, it can vary slightly based on individual size and skull thickness. So an airhead would be lighter and a numbskull would be thicker. Is that, where do they fall in on this, on the scale? This man is good at what he does, says Virginia Little. This is why he cost the big bucks. That is how he built and sold a company and made a lot of money doing it. Ozzy says, I think this guy's defensive is his work and Alessi misrepresented it. Just my opinion.
Thank you.
Parts of the testimony make my eyelids heavy.
May I, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank
Change
you.
my head weight.
Dr. Welcher, I would like to talk now about your paint exercise.
Finger paint. He writes down a note. What are you writing down?
Present, as you have stated, a force calculation with regard to the arm. You did a paint exercise, and what I want to do is to reference, and if we need to bring it up, sir, to refresh you, slides 103 to 120 of your PowerPoint presentation in this trial. I'll just call it the blue paint exercise. Is that descriptive enough for you to know what I'm talking about?
No, it's not an exercise, it's a test.
Okay, you want to call it a blue paint test?
Sure.
Okay, let's call it a blue paint test. I just want to try to expedite things and use parlance that we can agree on.
Okey-doke.
So your blue paint test involved painting the right rear taillight blue, correct?
Correct.
Positioning the test subject behind the taillight, correct?
Correct.
With the arm held out, correct?
Correct.
And at a right angle, correct?
Correct.
And then the vehicle, the Lexus SUV, is backed into the test subject, correct?
So I ran 3 different tests.
I know. Well, let's just do each one at a time, okay?
Okay, so you're starting with the last one.
I'll start with whatever one you want.
Okay.
How about if we start with the one at 1 mile per hour?
None of them are at 1 mile an hour.
2 miles per hour?
2 miles an hour.
Let's do 2 miles per hour. Let's start with that one, okay? Now, did you conduct that test in an attempt to show that the injury patterns on Mr. O'Keefe's right arm are consistent with being struck by the Lexus taillight on that arm?
So generally, I wanted to show that the location, area, and span over which that headlight covers matches the location and area of the lacerations on his arm.
That's what I want to get to. So you discussed data that you say shows that that you say shows the Lexus SUV was traveling above 20 miles per hour during the period that you allege the SUV made contact with Mr. O'Keefe. Is that correct?
No. Where'd you get that from?
Hold on. Okay. The answer is no. So did you do a test involving 20 miles per hour?
I did some other backing tests.
Yes.
I was looking at how the rear pedestrian system and what warnings you got from the rear pre-collision system, the PCS system.
Let me ask you this. Mm-hmm. Would you agree that you did a blue paint test with the vehicle going at 2 miles per hour? Did you
of course.
do that? Okay. You didn't do a blue paint test with the vehicle going at 20 miles per hour, correct?
That is correct. Okay. I was not going to hit myself with a Lexus at 20 miles an hour.
Didn't want to break my arm, huh?
You could have done other tests where the vehicle was going at 20 miles per hour if you used a crash test dummy, correct? You could have done that.
If you used the right crash test dummy,
right,
and then to set up the test, because generally you only get 1 or 2 shots at it, because you damage the car, you have to know everything about the parameters.
You damaged
and so,
the car?
Again, pedestrian impacts are so very sensitive to initial angles. If I were to do a test and it was off a tiny, tiny bit and we got some different results, I would be in here having to defend it. Well, your own testing didn't show it. Point is we don't have enough information to be able to conduct that testing.
Exactly.
Your assumption, as I understand it, is that the Lexus was going 24 miles per hour in reverse and made contact with Mr. O'Keefe. That's your analysis, sir?
No. There is not one single slide I have that says this is the speed he was hit at 24 miles an hour.
Do you know? Do you have a hypothesis at what speed you believe there was impact? Do you have the point of impact speed?
I do not know the exact speed. We don't know the initial point of contact. We don't know where exactly he was on the road. We don't have enough information to determine that.
Exactly. Let's talk about the other information you don't have.
Okay.
You don't have the information as to from your alleged point of contact to where Mr. O'Keefe landed. You don't have that information, do you, sir?
I'm sorry, where is my alleged point of contact?
You allege that there was a point of contact between the Lexus, the back of the Lexus, and
Correct.
Mr. O'Keefe, correct?
Right, but I don't know where that is on the road.
Correct. You don't know that. I want to go through the information that you don't have.
Okay, dope.
So you don't have that. You don't have the point of impact. You don't have where in the road there was impact under your allegation.
Those are the same thing.
Right. You don't have where under your view, the body of Mr. O'Keefe landed precisely. You don't have that information, do you?
What do you mean by precisely? We know it's 7 feet off the road. We know it's near the flagpole. We don't know where it started. The problem isn't where it landed. The problem is where it started.
Right. And you don't have that information.
I don't have where it started.
The paint tests that you used, aren't those used, if they're used at all, as an element of physical impact reconstruction, an element, not as the focal point of the test itself?
So that was the focal point of that test. The focal point of the purpose of that test was to show the contact width and location of how someone of Mr. O'Keefe's height, which happens to be me, contacts and where it would contact where the broken taillight was. So no, that was the focal point of the testing. That's why I did the testing. That's why we're calling it paint transfer testing.
Right, but my question, sir, I understand you use paint tests as the focal point, but aren't paint tests in accurate accident reconstruction not used as focal points? They're used as supplements to other tests to get more accurate information. Do you agree or disagree with that?
You didn't give me enough information. I can't agree nor disagree. It depends on what you're trying to do.
Let's go to, on direct examination, you testified that after the 1162-2 trigger event, Ms. Reed's vehicle traveled a distance of 87 feet. Do you recall that?
You are mixing up two things. Remember, the trigger is in the middle of the event.
Give me the chart, please. Your Honor, I'll give you the, as soon as Mr. Woke gives it, the slide 23, I believe it is.
I'm sorry, what slide?
Well, I want Mr. Wolt to go through it to check. Let me ask it this way, see if we can get to it quicker. Do you remember talking on direct about a calculation of 87 feet where you added, there was like a 30-something number and a 50 number and you came to 87? Do you remember that in your slide presentation, sir?
Slide 37, yes.
Right. So, if we could bring up that slide, please, Your Honor, with your permission.
Okay.
That's 36, but okay.
Are you on 33, sir?
No, I'm on 36.
Mr. Wolk, do you have 33? If you could go to 33, sir.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, because that's where your 87 number is, not on the other.
It's on a bunch of slides.
Yep.
Go ahead.
All righty. So if you could zoom in, Mr. Wolk, so Dr. Welcher can see the numbers in the column.
Where are we looking?
You're going the wrong way.
Yep. To the farther to the right.
Oh, I'm not the only one that has problems. No.
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
You still
Sir, do
don't
you
have
remember testifying about this? To the farther to the right?
Farther to the right.
Yep.
Keep going. Keep going. Yeah.
Is that 53 number down there? That column?
Right.
So
Can we scroll up a tad so you can see the headers? There you go.
Okay.
No, okay, go ahead.
So am I in the right column relative to start? Is that the column?
So there's two columns, like Z is relative to where it started, and then positive is forward, and then as you back up, once you go past 0, it becomes negative.
Right. So what I want to do is have you direct us to the column where you calculated 87 feet.
It's in two spots. It's at the end of column Y.
Right. We go all the way down. Is that in the yellow there? Is that 87, sir?
It is.
Okay. Is that the 87 number you were referring to?
Hold on a second. You asked me to identify. So then it's, see where the one next to it says minus 53?
Yes.
0.429. If you go up, so it's not a little bit down, a little bit, and add, see where it's changing directions at 34.157?
Yes.
You add those two together, that gives you the same result. So it went 34 feet forward and then 50-something feet backwards.
Right. And what is the 87 feet traveled, is that what you're indicating is the distance traveled during the trigger? Is that what the 87 represents to you?
That is so 87 represents the total rearward distance traveled during the trigger.
Okay. So you believe 87 represents the total rearward distance. Did I hear you correctly?
Correct.
Now, can you
hold on, to be clear. So it starts, it pulls forward, then it backs up, passes where it initially started, and goes 53 feet further back.
That's what I want to get to. How many feet did you say on direct, and did you just say now that it went 87 feet in reverse?
Correct.
Okay.
From its furthest point forward.
Well, that's what I want to get to because I want to have this point clear. How many feet do you believe the Lexus went in reverse based upon your PowerPoint presentation? Not when it went forward and then came backwards. How many feet do you believe that vehicle went in reverse?
Your question doesn't make any sense because when it went forward, then it went in reverse.
It makes sense. How many feet did it go in reverse? We're breaking it down.
How many feet do you believe the Lexus went during the trigger?
So it went a total of 80, it went 34 feet forward, then it came back 80, or another 53 feet past where it went.
Exactly. So, you've testified that the 1162-2 trigger event represents a backwards maneuver, correct?
So again, if I was clear, it initially pulls forward and then backs up.
I would like you to define, so it's clear to the jury, do you consider the event of 1162-2 just backward movement, or do you consider the trigger to be forward movement and adding to it backward movement? Which one?
So can we pull the slide up?
Sure.
Tammy, thank you very much.
Could you zoom in? There you go. No, go back to the left. So that T in the third column for data ID represents the trigger. if you scroll over a little bit to the right, where the highlighted yellow blocks are, you can see 1 is a forward drive gear, 0 is neutral, 2 is reverse. So that's where it's switched from forward to reverse. I mentioned the brake. So you have it on the brakes coming in, slowing, stopping, going into reverse, and then backing up.
So you conclude that the vehicle for this trigger went 34 feet forward, is that correct?
Correct.
How do you know the vehicle didn't go 150 feet forward? How do you know it just went 4 feet forward? How do you know that?
So the only data we have is this 10-second window. And so we have the velocity when it's going forward. We know how much time it took to do that. So that tells us how far it would travel. Velocity times time is distance.
So are you saying that it is a certainty that it went forward 34 feet and there's no other number of feet it could have gone forward? You're absolutely certain of the 34 number?
No. Again, if you look, see where it says vehicle speed?
I see it.
So at the start of this event, which is the trigger -5, so the trigger is actually where it's triggered, and it takes 5 seconds before, 5 seconds after. But when the trigger happens, it's actually stopped. But the 5 seconds before, it's going 13.6 miles an hour forward. So at the start of the data, it's still going 13.6 miles an hour forward, but it's slowing down. You can see you have the brake, where it says brake SW, which is short for switch. The brake switch is a 1, which means it's on. So when this event data started, it's going 13 miles an hour.
I'll ask the question a different way. Are you certain that the distance traveled forward during this trigger event was 34 feet? Are you certain?
Yeah, I'm pretty certain during this trigger event.
Pretty certain or certain?
Well, I've checked the math. I've had people check my math. So I try to be as accurate as possible. I would say I'm certain,
okay,
but I'm an engineer. Okay. So there's no absolutes. There's no 100% in my job.
So you're certain of the 34 feet, and is it correct that you're certain of 53 feet going backwards? Are you certain of that, sir?
So backwards from its initial starting position?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay. And therefore you are certain of a total of 87 feet traveled that you have at the bottom in that yellow-orange. You're certain of that as well?
87 feet of backing, correct.
Okay. Now, you also testified on direct, as I understand it, in slide 23, that different numbers represent different gear states of the vehicle, correct?
Correct.
And a 0 represents neutral?
I think it's either neutral or park, but I'm pretty sure it's neutral.
A 1 represents drive?
Correct.
A 2 represents reverse?
Correct.
Or a 2 can represent slowing down, is that correct?
Not for a gear shift number.
So you didn't say on direct that 2 could represent reverse or slowing down?
God, I hope not. It doesn't. So those numbers simply represent, is the transmission in drive? Is it in neutral? Is it in reverse? It doesn't tell you anything about whether it's slowing down or not. But the brake switch and the brake pressure and the longitudinal accelerometer data gives you some information on that.
Okay. So if Your Honor, we could go to slide 30, please.
Okay.
Mr. Wolt.
Cameron, if you can get us over to the screen really quickly, that would be great.
And I want to do it generally. There's not a need to read any specific number. I just want it clarified.
Mr. Lessie, so is this 30 or 31?
Nurse for God adds
I'm
to
sorry,
the
Your Honor,
train.
you are correct.
Thank you,
It's
Nurse for
31
God.
in the most up-to-date presentation. Thank you. You see all the numbers in blue font on that slide, sir?
I do.
Those are all numbers that you have placed on that slide. Did I have that correct in your direct presentation?
You do?
Okay. So this Excel spreadsheet, there's also numbers in black, correct?
Correct.
So all the ones that are in blue, those are numbers that you have placed into the spreadsheet, correct?
Correct. The one exception is column N, where it says ship position.
Yes.
I changed green to forward and red to reverse.
So the data in the columns in blue are not from the original data that was downloaded from the vehicle, correct?
Like for example, if you look at column H, I simply did a unit conversion. So it's the same number, it's just in different units. But the black numbers represent exactly as it comes out of the vehicle, but it's the same number.
All right, that's what I wanted to get to. So for clarity for this slide, when you download this data from the vehicle, what is in black, those numbers just come right out, correct? As they're stated. But the blue numbers, they don't come out like the numbers in blue. You have to do something, some calculation, some application to get to the blue, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Joni Hockey gifted 5 memberships.
Now,
Thank you very
we're going to
much.
keep that up, Mr. Woke, please. Thank you. And when we need to get to the specific numbers, we'll be fair and make sure you can see them. Now, in these columns, do I understand it correctly that you attempted to account for wheel slippage in the revolutions per minute speed values produced by the car?
Not here. You're looking, this is 1162-1. The wheel slippage occurred in 1162-2.
Okay, and so if we go to a slide with 1162.2, we will then go to the slide you believe represents wheel slippage, is that correct?
There are data points in that represent slippage.
That's my question. In which slide, sir, would you like to pick?
35.
Thank you. So we will go to slide 35. So
I've highlighted the slippage.
exactly. So you agree that there is data that shows that there is wheel slippage with the Lexus SUV during trigger event. Let's enlarge it for this one here. The trigger event, the number 1162.2, correct?
Correct.
And as I understand it, you testified that this trigger event was caused by a depression of the accelerator pedal at more than the 30%. Is that correct?
It's a transition into reverse and then a quick acceleration exceeding 30%.
So let's
in reverse.
Okay, got it. So
Well,
the
Steve,
accelerator
thank you so
pedal
much.
being depressed to this degree, more than 30%, can be the result of wheel slippage, correct?
I mean, it doesn't necessarily work that way. I mean, you can have wheel slippage at any acceleration, technically, depending on the roadway. It's just what is in the data that shows that it's slipping. It isn't necessarily because of the accelerator. Normally, that's what causes slippage. But it's the data. When you look at the data, you're like, well, that doesn't make sense. It's increasing in speed, but yet the longitudinal acceleration is dropping.
My question, again, doctor, is you can have an accelerator pedal depressed greater than 30% and it be caused by wheel slippage. That can occur, correct?
The wheel slippage does not cause the accelerator pedal.
I'm not saying a cause and effect. I'm just saying a correlation. You understand what I mean by a correlation?
Let me, if I may, try and straighten this out. So, applying heavy acceleration can cause the wheels to spin. Is that what you're asking me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that's all I wanted to get at. Alrighty.
Yes.
So in your review of the materials that are related to January 29, 2022, did you become aware of whether there were, and you said you extensively reviewed documents, Did you become aware whether there were people at 34 Fairview?
Yes.
And approximately how many people, without regard to names, just number, how many people did you become aware were at 34 Fairview on January 29th, 2022, the early morning hours? How many people approximately did you become aware were present?
It depends on which time, but there could be as many as 16.
As many as 16. And let's talk about the time period from midnight to 1 a.m. Do you have an understanding of how many people could have been present at 34 Fairview at that time period?
So I'm going to see you at sidebar on this, Mr. Mayor.
All right, we are getting dangerously close to listing the names of the people who might be there. We'll see if we're allowed to go here. Karen's going to go up to the sidebar and listen in on this one, as is Mr. Jackson and Ms. Little. I was busy weighing my eyelids during that last bit of testimony, the painfully back and forth part, and it was they're heavy. They're heavy. My eyelids are super heavy right now because of that. So so we've got some eyelid unheavying juice in the form of the remaining Mountain Dew from the road trip. Pantuflay comes in with a choo-choo train wreck. Must help jury understand. Must help jury. Thank you very much. Thank you to all of you who donated on the train. That was awesome. Thank you. Did Bev do her own objection? No, I don't think so. I can go back and listen, but I think. Oops, let me jump to the end here. Save me scrolling through a couple hours. Oops. I hit the max one for the file size. We've got a new file right there. Okay. Let's see how this one ended. We're listening particularly to how the sidebar was called.
The time period from midnight to 1 a.m. Do you have an understanding of how many people could have been present at 34 Fairview at that time period?
So I'm going to see you at sidebar on this, Mr. Mayor.
So we didn't see or hear the objection, but from the witness's eyes, he looked down where Mr. Brennan was and looked up, which means Brennan just stood up. That's an indication I have an objection, and the judge said we take it sidebar. So that was a Brennan objection. Why would he be asking that question? We'll get some witness testimony about where the car was. Did you weigh that in? Let's see. We have a gifted membership from Melissa Ann. Thank you very much, Melissa. Love my grandkids comes in with a super chat as well. Choo-choo eyelid lift needed badly. Send help. Thank you very much. Love my grandkids. Congratulations on the pink courthouse. It looks fabulous. Who's the woman in the blue shirt who was always there? Family. She was sitting on the other side of Peggy. Peggy's not there right now, although her cushion is, so she'll be back.
May I, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you. Dr. Welcher, am I correct in my understanding that you believe under your theory, the Lexus for event 1162-2 backed up 53 feet? Am I correct?
No, it backed up a total of 87 feet.
Okay, let's take your 87. It backed up a total of 87, okay?
Correct.
And your further theory is that it did so and reached 24 miles per hour, correct?
Correct.
And you stated you have an understanding of a certain number of people, and I don't want to talk about the inside of the house, but just that were at 34 Fairview between roughly 12 and 1 a.m. Do you have an understanding of that, sir? Approximately.
I believe I do.
And what is that number?
Do you want them, people that were there for that entire window of time, or just?
Yes, 12 to 1.
Oh.
So Mr. Alessi, just move to the last question.
Right, sure. So, sir, did you assume that there were cars parked out front of 34 Fairview at that 12 to 1 o'clock window? Did you assume any cars parked out front?
The entire time?
No, I'm just talking 12 to, any time between 12 and 1. Did you make any assumptions whether there were cars parked out front on the roadway at 34 Fairview? Did you make any assumptions with regard to that?
At a point in time, there was a vehicle behind it.
I'm sorry?
There was a vehicle behind it.
Just one?
That is my understanding. In terms of on the street, is your question?
Street, exactly. Yes. And what, do you remember the type of vehicle?
Yes.
What kind of vehicle was it?
An F-150 pickup.
Did you have any understanding as to whether there was a Jeep vehicle on the road at that 12 to 1 time period?
I had seen testimony somewhere to that effect, but the majority of the testimony was there were no other vehicles.
But you did see testimony that there was also a Jeep type vehicle on the front, out the front of 34 Fairview between 12 and 1. Is that what you're recalling?
Yeah. So I'm going to let that answer stand, what he's just testified to. Just go ahead and move
Okay,
on.
so Dr. Welcher, what I want to do is to have you, using your data,
That was from the first trial.
7 feet for the backup, correct?
Correct.
1162.2, up to 24 miles per hour. Isn't there a likelihood, if there is at least one vehicle out in front of 34 Fairview, that there would be a collision of the Lexus SUV with the vehicle out front?
No, the vehicle had left prior to the end, or prior to event 1162-2.
What information do you have with regard to how many vehicles are in front of 34 Fairview at between 12 and 1?
So I have Ms. Reed's interview statements. I have statements of a number of witnesses. I don't know if I'm allowed to say the names.
Let's not.
I was just going to say, let's not just number of vehicles.
Okay, so I have a number of witness statements at multiple statements from the same witnesses at different times, indicating the path and following the Lexus to the house and then leaving before the event.
Assume that there were vehicles, at least one vehicle, parked out front of 34 Fairview. Is there a likelihood that, given 24 miles per hour over 87 feet, is there a likelihood that there would be a collision given the weather conditions as you knew them to be at that time?
Well, the weather I don't think necessarily plays into whether there would be a collision or not, but we know it backed up 87 feet. So again, it goes forward like 35-ish and then back like 60-something. And so if something is within 65 feet of the rear of it, or whatever the numbers are, I would need my slides.
It was 50.
50,
Okay. Yeah,
57. If something is within that window, then it would hit it.
All right, good. So now let's look at another scenario. If it's going as you describe it, is there a likelihood that the Lexus would also go upon the lawn in front of 34 Fairview?
It depends on where it starts.
You have an opinion, don't you, as to where it starts?
No, I do not. That's actually why I have that diagram showing it off to the side. I'm simply showing how far it moved forward, how far it moved back.
Exactly.
We don't know where on the roadway it started.
Exactly. You don't know where on the roadway it started, and therefore all you have is the distance covered, correct?
Correct.
So, but you're saying the distance is 87 feet, correct?
87 feet backwards, yes.
So backwards, 24 miles an hour. Have you ever driven a vehicle backwards 24 miles an hour, sir?
Yes, I think I've driven this Lexus backwards 24 miles an hour.
So if anybody who's driven a vehicle back, have you ever driven any vehicle back 24 miles an hour at 1 o'clock, 12 o'clock in the morning?
Probably not since I got out of high school.
Have you ever done it when there's a storm that is beginning?
No.
Have you ever done it when there is less than clear visibility?
No and no.
And have you ever done it when there's low lighting?
Oh, maybe when I've been up skiing in the snow, I've done it. But again, that's been decades.
Right. So
I drive backwards in the dark when I'm skiing?
87 feet, 24 miles an hour. Are you saying that in every instance that vehicle will stay on the road and for 34 Fairview it wouldn't go up on the lawn?
When you mean every instance, mean like every possible location on the road it starts from?
Correct.
No, there's some spots, if you start here, it's going to go up on the road, on the yard. If you start too far on the other side, you're going to go over into the neighbor's yard. So it depends on where you start.
Right. And so in given the conditions that we've just described, right?
Conditions
the weather
have nothing to do with where you start.
I need to finish my
Hold
question,
on.
sir.
Only one at a time.
Yes, ma'am.
Let him finish his question, please.
Given the conditions that you've described, it is reasonable to conclude that that vehicle, under your parameters, would have gone up on the lawn. Is that a reasonable conclusion?
No.
So you don't think there's any possibility that could occur, a vehicle going 24 miles an hour at this location, 87 feet backwards, in the dark, with wet pavement at a minimum, and low lighting, you don't believe it's possible for the vehicle to, under your scenario, to have gone up on the lawn? That's not possible.
So your first question was reasonable, and I said no. Now you're asking possible. It, of course, is possible. Whether it's reasonable or not, I'd have to know the starting position.
Right.
If it's very close to the side, then it could be reasonable. If it's further towards the middle of the road because snow is building up on the side of the road, then it's probably not as reasonable. I would need more information to be able to determine whether it's reasonable or not. It's certainly possible. It's possible it could have shot off into space as an engineer, but not probable.
Oh, you think it's possible that it could have been shot off into space, sir?
As an engineer, it's a possibility.
It's a possibility that
Absolutely.
this Lexus could have been shot off into space?
Yeah. Highly, highly unlikely. But
All
again,
right.
You're asking an engineer about possibilities and probabilities.
Let's get back to reality. So in terms of the Lexus itself, because you, under your method of analysis, don't have the starting point, you can't rule out that under your scenario, the vehicle would have gone up on the lawn. You can't rule that out, can you, sir?
I cannot. No, it could have.
Okay. Now let's go to the next topic.
A rare win for Alessi with this cross-examination.
If we could, Your Honor, have
And he got a zinger
Exhibit
in there, too.
168.
Come back to
in
reality,
evidence,
Mr. Engineer.
which is now under the 167. Now, as I understand your testimony, Dr. Welcher, you believe that it's possible that the Lexus taillight could have caused these wounds to Mr. O'Keefe's right arm. Is that correct?
Correct.
And more specifically, it's your belief that the lacerations would have been caused by the vehicle scratching Mr. O'Keefe's arm as it drives past him. Is that correct?
I don't know. I'd characterize it that way. What happens is, there's 6,000-pound vehicles coming, and he's standing on a, icy, snowy roadway area, and it's going to contact him and move his whole body and induce rotation.
Right. So it's going to contact him and, under your theory, induce rotation. So wouldn't such a movement of the car relative to his right arm result in horizontal injuries to Mr. O'Keefe's arm, as can be seen on his bicep above the elbow.
So could we pull up one of my slides to address this issue?
Sir,
I'd like to answer your question with a slide that I have that addresses this exact point.
I'd like to stay with this slide, Dr. Welcher, and see if you can answer my questions off of this slide. So I'll repeat it.
Sure.
Do you agree that the injuries up at the upper part where you're familiar with the bicep brachialis?
I am.
And aren't those two up at the top, right over the bicep brachialis?
They're actually about midway between the biceps and the triceps.
Right. So you know which two I'm talking about,
Sorry
the two up there. Can you just use your laser pointer just so we're talking about the same two? Do you have one?
I'll give it a try.
Trying to get
The upper ones.
I know it's not your fault, but
On the
sometimes it
image,
doesn't
the
show.
upper left. I mean,
Yes.
technically, the ones right to the right of that are also on the biceps and triceps.
Right, but
the
I'm talking
biceps goes all the way to the elbow, so do the triceps.
Right, so I'm talking about the two that are the farthest up.
Correct.
All right, would you agree that those are in a horizontal orientation?
Generally, yes, which is what you'd expect with your arm like this and the tail light coming across like this, which is what I showed in my slides.
My questions are trying to keep this moving. I just asked if those are in a horizontal orientation.
Yeah,
Yes
more
or
or
no?
less. They're angled down slightly, but more or less horizontal.
Okay. Isn't it true that if Mr. O'Keefe's arm were to be flexed like it was with the test subject in your blue paint test, the lacerations on Mr. O'Keefe's forearm would be oriented in a vertical direction?
Absolutely not. If you pull up my slide 117, it'll show exactly that it is like perfectly horizontal. When you're standing like this, and this is the tail light, the laceration, when it comes across here and pushes my body, it's going to make a horizontal laceration because the 6,000-pound vehicle is going to push me out of the way. As this pushes me out of the way, it's going to drag and create a horizontal laceration.
Yes, but he's
across
talking
my
about
arm.
the lower arm.
This is exactly what you'd expect.
So let's talk about the forearm, sir. We may have miscommunicated. I'm talking about the lacerations on Mr. O'Keefe's forearm now.
So we're switching from the arm to the forearm.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Wouldn't those be oriented in a vertical direction?
You mean between
No.
the elbow and the wrist.
Again, you have the vehicle. If this is me and this is the car, it's pushing and
It's the
pushing
prop.
across like this. And with your arm bent like this, it's going to cause laceration as it pushes my arm away. It pushes like that.
Okay, I
And
got it.
my slide shows this quite clearly.
So you disagree, you do not agree that the injuries to Mr. O'Keefe's forearm under your theory would be oriented in a vertical. You disagree with that. It's just want to get that on the record.
I disagree with that.
Okay. Now, also,
Judges
do
spin
you
their
understand
glasses.
that under your theory of injury here, that there would be injuries caused in two different directions by the same movement of the car? Agree or disagree?
I'm going to say I disagree. You need to give me a little more. You're going to have, again, this is a glancing or a clipping type impact. And so it's going to be it's going to sweep across the arm, which is what causes the horizontal lacerations.
We're talking about a flat surface, right, sir?
Approximately, yes.
It's unbroken
And-
when it starts.
Therefore, you would have to maintain contact with the arm as the car moves. Am I correct about that?
Maintain contact with the arm? I'm unclear what you mean.
The car and the arm would have to be
What
maintaining
I'm trying
contact
to do,
for the duration
sir,
of the
is to
injury.
get under your theory, right, given the contact that you've described, what would you expect to be the orientation of the wounds to the upper part of the arm and to the lower part of the arm?
Just like it's shown in this photograph.
Okay.
That's the weakest part
Isn't
of the
it the
prosecution's
case
case.
with your theory that the tail light would have to break, and after the break, the arm would have to maintain contact with the arm as the car moves?
So that is what happens in pedestrian contacts. There is a contact duration. For example, you asked me earlier in that calculation you had me ran, you said 0.01 seconds. That was the contact duration. So when you have things like this, and that's why you have to allow, if you do testing, the body to move, because the car is going to hit the body, it's going to cause it to move, the body's going to rotate away, and the car is going to continue on in that clipping type impact. So the arm is definitely in contact with the rear of the car for some time.
That's what I wanted to get to, is simply that under your theory, the taillight would break, and also the arm would need to maintain contact with the taillight area as the car moves. Is that your supposition?
So at a point in time, it'll stop contact, but the 6,000-pound vehicle is going to want to continue moving on. It's going to push, it's going to initially contact the arm and then push the arm away as it rotates the body. So yes, it's going to maintain contact until the clipping is over and the vehicle continues on.
So my next question is simply, how long do you believe the arm needs to maintain contact with the taillight after, under your theory, it breaks, to produce those types of wounds that you say came from a taillight?
We don't have enough information to determine that.
Right. You don't have enough information to make that determination, do you, sir?
Correct.
And
but we know because of the laws of physics that it has to be some amount of time. It doesn't occur instantaneously.
so now we do apply the laws of physics to the right arm that weren't applied before because you applied a paint experiment. Is that correct? You're now applying the laws of physics to the injury to the right arm. But you didn't do that in your report.
Nope. Always applied the laws of physics. The paint experiment, as you're referring to it, was to look at basically the orientation of the scratches that matched this. So that was an engineering experiment to correlate height, position of the taillight relative to height, orientation of the lacerations on Mr. O'Keefe's arm.
You just said, sir, if I heard you correctly, you, to answer my previous question, applied the laws of physics. That's what you just said, correct?
So the laws of physics cover more than Newton's second law. There's a whole law of physics. The whole field of physics is a broad subject. So a simple measurement of height is a physical measurement.
Sir, I have your entire report in my hand, right here. Where in the report do you apply the law of physics to the right arm of Mr. O'Keefe? Where?
So in the paint experiment we did, the laws of physics about gravity, orientation, things like that, I didn't apply Newton's second law as we already went through. But again, those simple positions, arm angles, the possible physical arm angles, those are all generally governed by the laws of physics. The laws of physics are very broad.
Sir, I'll ask it this way.
They're subjective.
Where in your 14-page report do you even mention the laws of physics related to the right arm of Mr. O'Keefe?
So in terms of applying the laws of physics.
I'm not asking applying, just where in the report is it mentioned law of physics relative to the right arm? Can you point me to where?
Would write a report to say these are the laws of physics. I would say these are the numbers, but for example, the timing in GPS, how a clock times, the concept of a second, what does that mean? Those are all concepts of physics. So the timing, the GPS, the mileage, how we calculate the mileage, those are all based on the laws of physics.
I'm talking about injuries to the right arm.
That's not what you asked. You asked me about my whole report.
Sir, if you could please, I just need to finish my question. Where in your report do you use any laws of physics in connection with injuries to the right arm of Mr. O'Keefe? Can you point me to a word or a page in your report?
Yes.
Where?
2A. 2A Roman numeral 1. 2A Roman numeral 2. 2A Roman numeral 3, 2A Roman numeral number 4, 2A Roman numeral number 5.
Sir, I followed all of it, but what I'm asking about is where in all of what you just mentioned is the word right arm? I'll take what you just said. Where in 2A and all of those is the word right arm? Where is it?
Oh, sorry, it's in number 3.
So let's go to 3.
This is great.
You state the location and orientation of the laceration on John O'Keefe's right forearm and right arm are consistent with the geometry and orientation of the right tail light of the Reed 2021 Lexus LX 570. Where?
Can you read the next sentence?
I'm sorry. Is it see PowerPoint slides 102, 120, correct?
Correct.
All right. I want to just start with the report. Did you apply any force analysis to support 3?
So in terms of the force analysis, I did not do an F equal MA analysis, but in terms of, say, the contact pattern, I obviously had to apply some force, even at 2 miles an hour, to do that.
So the answer is, what you cited, number 3, you did not use a force analysis, correct?
So force was applied to my arm in the paint test. I didn't do an F equals MA force analysis.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So now let's
You're welcome.
go to
That calls for a goat scream. Love it.
horizontal movement we were talking about with regard to the car. And you can agree or disagree.
Sorry, the picture's done.
I'm sorry, we'll take that down. Thank you.
So he says I didn't do F equals
Do
MA.
you agree
I think
or disagree
someone's going to do a FML.
That given a horizontal movement
tonight.
of the car, vertical lacerations would be an inconsistent injury pattern?
So horizontal motion generally will cause a horizontal laceration. You can get what are called stellate, which are a blunt force, and it causes a splitting of the skin as well. But generally, when the vehicle is clipping or running horizontal across it, it will generally cause horizontal lacerations. But when you have a fractured taillight, you can get pieces going off in other directions. So it's not necessarily going to be perfectly horizontal.
So my question is, not with clipping, you keep inserting clipping into my question. My question is this. If you're given a horizontal movement of the car, do you agree that it's more likely than not that vertical lacerations would be an inconsistent injury pattern?
I'm trying to help you, but you got to give me more. So, like, is it a clipping contact or is it not a clipping contact? Is it a direct in the center of the car impact?
Okay, are there only 2 variables you need to answer the question?
But this is a good start.
All right, so let me do it this way. You can't answer the question on a general basis of whether there's horizontal movement of a car, whether vertical lacerations would be an inconsistent injury pattern. You can't answer that question without more information. Is that your answer?
So generally, again, horizontal motion should cause horizontal lacerations, but again, it depends on what's being hit.
Okay.
So for example, if I have something that bends as a result of the impact, it could bend up and create a vertical laceration.
So you would agree, based upon what you said, that generally horizontal movement of a car would be expected to cause horizontal lacerations.
Generally,
okay.
yes.
Now, during your blue paint test, the blue paint was featured more predominantly on your upper arm than your forearm. Is that correct?
I think it depends on the tests.
Do you want? We bring up a slide. Will that
I'd
help
love
you?
to bring up a slide.
We're going to be running the thing, so we'll just bring one up, and you tell me whether this slide works for you, sir.
Do you want me to tell you the slide I want?
If we could take a shot at it first, and then we may ask you for it. But I think we've got a slide for you. And what number?
Dr. Welcher,
111 is on the screen, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor.
This is a intellectual
Is
pissing match.
the blue
Sorry,
paint
but it is.
more predominantly on your upper arm than your forearm? Is there more blue paint on your upper arm than your forearm?
Probably. This is the one where I actually walked sideways into the back of the car. The one where the car's moving is probably a little better representation.
Sir, I'm just asking you a question about this slide. If
Okay,
you could just focus on this slide here, and if you can't answer it, so be it.
I just answered it.
Is the blue paint featured more predominantly on your upper arm than your forearm?
It sort of looks like it. I didn't actually measure the total area of it.
Alrighty. So on direct, you stated that in order for the injuries on Mr. O'Keefe's forearm to have been caused by an impact with the taillight, his arm would have needed to be held outstretched as you did in your demonstration, correct?
You would need some degree of outstretch, yes.
Yes. So isn't that an example of confirmation bias?
No, that's matching the contact pattern to the injuries.
Don't clean your ears right
But
now.
don't you have to select among other choices this outstretching of the arm? You have to make that selection from among others, correct?
So that was matching the physical evidence on his arm to the physical evidence on the car, and then running a test to see if dynamically those matched up. So it's, I didn't have it hit the exhaust pipe, for example, because there was no assertion it hit the exhaust pipe. There was no damage to the exhaust pipe. So it was based upon the evidence, and the testing was done to test, to use your vernacular, the hypothesis that that's where it came from.
Sir, have I ever asked you anything about a tailpipe in any of my questions today?
Yes.
I have not. I've never
Yes,
asked.
you have. You asked me about the totality of the rear of the Lexus, which includes the tailpipe.
All right. I am not going to be asking any questions that involve the taillight in any fashion.
Tailpipe.
So what I'd like to do is to go back to the question
Tailpipe,
that I'm
sorry.
asking, which is, did you consider, as part of the scientific method, in terms of more than one hypothesis, did you consider in your analysis any other orientation of Mr. O'Keefe other than the one you selected for your paint test?
Yes.
And where is that consideration of other hypotheses stated in any report?
It's not. I was just looking at the damage that was up on the sheet metal.
Okay. So, are you saying that you considered other orientations of Mr. O'Keefe relative to the vehicle as part of your analysis?
In terms of where exactly the hand would be, some slight different angles in the forearm, which is from the elbow to the hand. I did consider that, but all the physical testing is done with the hand hitting the approximate center of the taillight.
Do you have any notes that you took for these alternative orientations?
No, I think I just included photographs of that damage.
Do you have any proof at all that you consider those other orientations? Anything in writing?
No, I don't believe so.
Did you consider any other locations of Mr. O'Keefe under your theory relative to the back of the SUV?
Sure. In the beginning of this, I started about, hey, it's all over. It could be anywhere on the back of it. Then whittled it down based upon the evidence, started eliminating various hypotheses based upon the evidence, and came to this conclusion, eliminating hypotheses based upon the taillight fragments near his body, the lacerations, his height, the height of the taillight in a Lexus. So it was an iterative process.
Did you mention any of these supposed hypotheses in your direct testimony?
No, because I was able to reject them. I didn't come in here to tell these people what didn't happen. I came in here to tell them what I believe happened.
Would you agree, sir, that the scientific method earlier has the scientist identify various hypotheses, go with the data that supports it, but you show your math as to why you're rejecting hypotheses. As you said, you rejected them. I'm asking for proof that you considered other hypotheses. Do you have anything in writing, any notes at all, any videos, any tests that you did, documentation of other hypotheses other than picking this one? Do you have any documentation of that?
So I did a bunch of tests with the Lexus. I did backing tests. I looked at how the rear system worked to see if it would autonomously brake. I confirmed it did not, so I eliminated that as a hypothesis. I tested the steering. I tested the transmission, what 1, 2 represented. So I did a whole bunch of tests on the vehicle.
I understand you say you did a bunch of tests on the vehicle. My question is, did you ever take the vehicle and position yourself or anybody else in various locations to determine whether or not your hypotheses could be properly rejected? Do you have any documentation that you did that?
I mean, I did do 1 static and 2 dynamic tests in very similar positions, though. So I did a total of 3 tests relative to the arm.
Where is the documentation for that, sir?
It's in the file. I gave it to you. Some of the slides are some of it.
Okay.
All right, so Mr. Alessi, I think if we're going to...
I am, and I'm going to move on, Your Honor.
So...
Okay, but Mr. Alessi, hold on. We're going to do that voir dire.
Can I ask, I just have one other area, Your Honor. I can do it in short order if I could, please.
We get a voir dire.
Go ahead, finish your answer.
So slides 109, 110, 111, actually through
116.
I guess 121 deal with the testing of the hypotheses.
We'll come back to this at another time, Dr. Welcher. So what I want to do is to finish up on this point. So is it your testimony that no part of what you did in selecting this area, no part of it is confirmation bias? You say there's no confirmation bias at all in what you did. Is that your testimony?
That's certainly my goal. I try and eliminate all confirmational bias. I didn't start out at this particular location. This is where the physical evidence led me to. So I would say the conclusions are supported by the science.
My question is, did you engage in any confirmation, and this will be my last question, did you engage in any confirmation bias in terms of how you approach the issue that you have testified about in written reports?
The answer is still no.
It's a good
All right,
curriculum.
so, okay, thank you. All right, so jurors, we're
Jurors.
going to send you home because we still have work to do here, and we don't need you waiting there while we do it exactly. So, tomorrow is a half day.
It's a half a day.
We'll see when exactly that half day ends, but we won't be here we won't go until 4 tomorrow.
Half a day tomorrow.
Those 3 cautions: do not discuss this case with anyone, don't do any independent research or investigation into this case. If you happen to see, hear, or read anything about this case, please disregard it and let us know. The 4th admonition: please be very careful with your social media use. We'll see you tomorrow morning.
Rise to the jury.
Stay here? Yes.
The witness just laughed when he heard, be very careful with your social media use. He's like, ha 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 ha. That's where I get my stuff. Ha ha ha. That was terrible. What a day. We're not done yet. Don't go anywhere. We're not done. We're coming back. The jury's going to step out, and we're going to continue with the voir dire in just a moment. Don't do any math. Don't play with the calculator. There's a big sigh from the... We're almost up to 200 on the size.
Okay, Mr. Alessi, it's your voir dire.
If I could have a moment, Your Honor, to switch.
Mr. Alessi asked for this one. The judge says, all right, your show, go. Jury's gone. Ask your questions. What are we going back to? Is this about the testing, confirmational bias?
Your Honor,
Yes.
can I have a load up my slides?
Yeah,
No.
Can you do that while you're sitting here answering questions? Yes.
Can I load up my slides? Can I please have my computer, Your Honor? This is cruel and unusual punishment. I've never been this long without my slides. Make him introduce himself again. Amber sent me a little quick Twitter post from the FBI field office in Boston. Breaking news: Boston has arrested Thomas Brady, the former assistant deputy superintendent for jail operations at Norfolk Sheriff, in connection with an alleged extortion scheme to force subordinate employees to perform free labor at his residence.
Okay. And we're on a very limited schedule here. Okay.
Okay, Your Honor.
Which means you got 6 minutes.
Mr.
Go.
Wilk, with Your Honor's permission, if we could pull up the January 30th, 2025 PowerPoint of Dr. Welcher in slide 36.
Go back to the
You
time
see that,
change.
Dr. Welcher? Do you recall that from your January 30th, 2025 PowerPoint?
I thought I had replaced the video on the left-hand side by the time I produced
Sir,
it.
I got to
don't
go through
recall
this
that.
quickly. That image is a drone image on the left, correct?
Oh, correct.
And you had that in your original report, but you removed it in subsequent reports, correct?
Correct.
Where did you get that drone image from?
It was in the file.
Wasn't it in the CARS report of Trooper Paul?
I believe it was.
So you took that drone image from the CARS report of Trooper Paul, correct?
Correct.
Let's, if we could, Mr. Woke, go to diagram 1. Do we have that electronically of Trooper Paul's report? Do you recognize that as diagram 1 from Trooper Paul's report?
Yes.
So, and that's the diagram that you took that image and you put it in your January 30th, 2025 PowerPoint, correct?
I'm pulling up my version of PowerPoint.
Looks like it has Massachusetts State Police logo in the corner for Trooper Paul's report.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, if we could take that down, I'm going to go to the next example. We could go to Dr. Welcher.
I'm sorry, actually, can we go back to that?
Yes. With,
Are they different?
Your Honor, why do we...
Well,
I have limited... Go ahead.
so that particular diagram I did not use. If you notice, the
Cars
diagram I
position.
used has different cars and doesn't have all the writing about the position of things on it.
I am going to now, Your Honor, have to take the time to go to Trooper Paul's report.
Be careful of social media use so you don't accidentally find something about this case.
Would you turn the lights on, please?
So basically, he used a different diagram from the report instead of the one on that page, I think is what we're getting at. It looks like it's a very consistent layout and everything else. And he already admitted to taking it from the report, but it's just not that page's diagram.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
I'm going to
Show Mr. Brennan.
Yes, Mr. Brennan. This is... May I approach the witness? Excuse me, Dr. Welcher. You see this first page, do you recognize this as the cover page for the Trooper Paul report that I was referring to?
Well, Lisa, can you show me the signature?
Seriously?
You want to look at the report, sir? I'm not so sure there is a signature on the report.
If he plays dumb here, he's busted.
Signature block right here.
Yes.
Trooper Paul, page 16.
Can I have that?
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Now, what I want to do is to go to diagram 1, and if I could, Your Honor, republish what was just up. I'm showing you diagram 1, sir, and I'm asking you, is that the image from Trooper Paul's report that you then used to put into your January 30th slide presentation?
No. See all the writing on here, the glass cup, all the dimensions here. Here's my January 30th one. None of that stuff's here. There's different. None of this stuff is here.
Isn't it the case that this is cropped more and there's a larger picture of the same image, or not?
See this tree?
Yes.
See these trees?
Yes.
See all these measurements by the trees? All
Yes.
these? That's right here.
Okay.
Those do not show up on my image.
Let me go to a different method then to do this. You have an image. Can we go, Mr. Wolf, to the January 30th presentation?
Slide 36.
Correct.
Where did you get this? From Trooper Paul's report.
Where did you get that image from that's in your PowerPoint presentation on the left?
I think it was from the file, a satellite image from the file.
What part of the file, sir?
I actually don't know at this time.
How close is the image on diagram 1, the drone image, to the image that you can't now recall where you got it from for your slide presentation? Are they similar?
So that one has a whole bunch of measurements and ID on it, but the underlying image is very similar. It's probably the same one.
Yes. Bingo.
Yes. You're welcome.
Okay.
Do you know of any other place you could have, let's put the presentation back up on the slide presentation. Do you know of any other location other than Trooper Paul's report that you could have got that drone image from?
No, I'm not sure I got it from the report. I recall getting it from the file.
My question is, do you know of any other source other than Trooper Paul's report that you could have gotten that drone image from?
So this image is not in that report.
It's not my
Yes, it is. You asked me anything but the report. That image is not in that report.
Did you get the drone image from any file from the Massachusetts State Police?
Yes.
Okay. Did Trooper Paul work on any drone images to your knowledge with respect to 34 Fairview?
I don't know.
But you would agree that the drone images are from the Massachusetts State Police file, correct?
You already
Give me 1
did.
second.
Is this chasing the idea that he said I didn't use Trooper Paul's information? It would be better for me to not use it. And now we've got a key
Sir, let me know
image.
you've had a fair opportunity to answer that question.
Yeah, give me a second. Yes, it came in a file called cars-trp.jopal.
Okay. So it came
File's
from,
named
and that's the
Trooper
report
Paul.
of Trooper Paul, correct?
It's
No,
named
these
Trooper
are
Paul.
drone images that are not in the report.
No, I'm saying what you just read. Can you repeat it again, what you just read, where it came from?
I read you a folder
Yes.
that contains a bunch of things, including the report.
Understood.
That image is not in his report.
Can you read the file name again that you just read?
The folder name
Yes.
is cars-trp.jopal.
Okay. And
Trooper
did you get the
Joe Paul.
drone image
Cars.
from that file folder?
I did.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Now let's go on to the May 26, 2025 PowerPoint that you created. And I'd like to go to slides 25, 26, and 27.
Trooper Paul. Naming the folder.
Have you discussed
after
with
himself.
anybody today at all the source of what is depicted up on this slide?
No.
Okay, so let's now go to
It's the driving route.
where did you get you see the larger chart to the left there in the, looks like mostly a rectangle. Do you see that, sir?
What slide are you on? What slide is that?
25, I
25,
believe.
okay.
Okay, and then if we could click to 26, because it looks like it's the same. If we can go to 26 and 27, looks like it's the same one. You tell me.
It's 25.
Similar.
6.
Similar, okay.
Yeah.
In 27,
Correct.
see the same or similar one there. Okay.
These are all from Google Maps.
Well, my question is, may I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you. Well, let me ask you this so I don't have to keep going back and forth. Do you have access, sir, to the CARS report of Trooper Paul on your computer?
Think so? You remember the name of it?
I don't. We'll
Just
do it with the hard copy. Mr. Brennan, I'd like to.
It's just called Trooper Paul's report.
So, if I could approach, Your Honor?
Yep.
So, you see what I'm pointing to right here, which is page 10 of Trooper Paul's CARS report. Do you see that?
Is this the same report? It's dated 1/29/2022?
I believe so, sir. Let me just take a peek. This is, you can
Judge
just
is gonna
compare
call
this
it.
to the one I have in my hand. Take it and look for
We'd
any
have to do this tomorrow.
identification it gives you.
Yeah.
Right? We got the same one.
Yeah, mine's frozen.
Okay.
So let's do the paper.
Okay. So we have that report, and I now am referencing page 10 of that report, and I'm looking at the chart on page 10. Is that chart on page 10 the same or substantially the same as the chart that is up on your slide presentation right now?
So it's not the same. I did not use this data at all, but we both use Google Maps.
Okay. Alrighty. Now let's go to,
It's not the same. It sure looked very
your,
similar.
continuing on the same slide, if Mr. Woke, we could go to slides 22 and 23.
Okay, and this will be the last on this, Mr. Lessie. If you want to get to the autopsy photo, we're wrapping this all up at 4:10.
Okay, Your Honor. You see these photos?
I'm sorry?
You see the photos that are up on that?
I do.
Okay.
He's dragging his feet.
Do you, in terms of those photos, Do you recognize any aspect of those photos?
Yes.
What do you recognize in terms of the person in it?
That's Trooper Paul.
You want me to limit it to just these 3 photos?
Any photo that would be, this photo or any photo similar to it. But let's start with just these 3.
If I have to limit it to these 3, I don't know who that is.
Okay, and if you don't limit it to those 3, who would you conclude it is in those photos?
It appeared to be Trooper Paul from other photos.
Okay, so you can tell from other photos that this is Trooper Paul in these photos, correct?
I have photos of Trooper Paul in the car. I don't know that someone else switched out. I have no reason to believe this isn't anybody but Trooper Paul.
Okay. Would you have any understanding that there's any other trooper that would be doing this type of analysis other than Trooper Paul?
Someone else took the photographs?
No, I'm talking inside the vehicle.
I'm sorry?
Inside the vehicle doing what's depicted here.
Someone is inside the vehicle taking the photograph.
What's your best conclusion as to who that is?
Trooper Paul.
Thank you. Your Honor, that is...
Okay, so next topic.
Yes,
Go right
thank you.
ahead.
And I just need to reload, if you will, with regard to...
$350,000. And what did he do? He copy and pasted Trooper Paul's report. $350,000. Copy, paste, copy, paste. Now let's go to the autopsy photo. What is the autopsy photo? Okay. This is going to be the brain picture. Yep. We've seen this one.
If you could, if Your Honor, you can go to slide, and I think I can do this fairly quickly.
Okay.
If you can go, Mr. Woke, to slide 131
2 minutes.
of Dr. Welcher's PowerPoint presentation. And it's now 132. I don't believe that's the right one. It's the...
One before that.
Yep. I think you're... Yeah, okay. So this is slide 131 from your slide presentation, correct, sir?
Correct.
And if you look to the far right, I'm sorry, Mr. Woke, you go to the other one. Yes, that one, and scroll down so we can see what's in green. For that depiction, that is from Dr. Scorti-Bello's autopsy report, page 3, correct? Is that where you got that from?
It's from the report. Take your word for it on page 3.
So, but it is from Dr. Scorti-Bello's autopsy report, correct?
Correct.
Now, if you could go to, if we could zoom back out and go to the multicolored image in the center, up at the top.
Big sigh from the judge.
Yep. Thank you. If you can go to the very top line, it says autopsy report performed by Irene Scorti-Bello, MD, PhD. If you could scroll back over, date of autopsy, January 31, 2022, and then you see final diagnoses. That is all directly from the autopsy report, is it not, sir?
Yes.
And that is in your slide presentation, correct, sir? This is page 131 of your slide presentation, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so
that's all I have, Your Honor.
Okay. You are all set, Doctor?
You're all set.
All right.
Yes,
did you have any questions,
unless
Mr. Brennan?
Unless he just won.
I have a couple quickly.
Okay.
Can I keep it under 2 minutes?
The judge is mad. Just going to check her watch. Unless he just opens the door to lines of questioning with this witness.
Dr. Welcher, you were shown a photograph of the street of Fairview Road. Did you know that didn't come from Trooper Paul? It came from the CERT report, and Trooper Paul then took it from the CERT report and put it separately in his presentation. Did you know that?
I had no idea. I just was given it as a folder.
And the photo you were using, it didn't have the markings that Trooper Paul put on his report, did it?
It did not.
When Trooper Paul, when you used that photo, was it because you were borrowing, relying on, or using any of Trooper Paul's reports for your conclusions or any of your decisions or analysis in this case?
I did not use his report at all.
It was simply limited to the use of the photo to show a different demonstrative issue.
Correct.
And then when you saw diagram 1, again, that was different than what was used in Trooper Paul's report because it had absent in it all the writing. Isn't that fair to say?
That's fair to say.
Did you rely on Trooper Paul's analysis or conclusions in this case for your conclusions and your analysis?
Not at all.
Is that why you went and downloaded the information and looked at the car and did everything individually, separately, and uniquely from Trooper Paul?
I wanted it to be independent in my analysis.
Regarding Dr. Scotabello, did you ever consider her conclusions regarding manner or cause of death as a basis for your analysis and conclusions?
Yes.
And when you considered her analysis, did you consider the conclusion of undetermined cause of death? Was that part of your analysis?
Oh, no. I was using like the skull fractures, the description of the injuries.
So you were considering the information in her autopsy report?
Correct.
How about her conclusions? Did you rely on her conclusions to do your studies or any analysis in this case as far as cause of death or manner of death?
Only I thought I said blunt force trauma and hypothermia.
Okay. Regarding her conclusions about whether this was caused by a car accident or not, did you consider that as the basis of your opinion?
No.
It's 2 minutes. Time's up.
A person like that's opinion for that.
Did you ever have a conversation with Dr. Scotabello about her expertise limitations?
No, I would want a biomechanical analysis.
Was your opinion regarding the collision in this case, did it have anything to do whatsoever with Dr. Scotabello's conclusions regarding cause of death, whether it was accident, undetermined, or homicide?
No.
Okay.
Thank you. Your Honor?
All right, one question. Can we just wrap it up? I'd like to hear you argue, but we don't have time, so I'm just going to...
I have
Decision.
two questions, Your Honor. You put in your slide presentation information from the autopsy report of Dr. Scotabello for a reason, correct, sir? And that reason is because you considered the autopsy report as part of your analysis, correct?
So I considered portions, which are the portions I included here for the autopsy report.
And part of those considerations were the final diagnoses. We can put that back up, Mr. Woke. But you recall the slide that you had has the final diagnoses of Dr. Scotabello, and you put that in your slide presentation because you considered that as part of your analysis, else it wouldn't be in there, correct?
So the final diagnosis is in there. There's a line, then it says cause of death, and then manner of death.
Right.
The things I highlighted are the things I thought were important. So the highlighting on slide 130. So the final diagnosis, again, does not include cause of death. It does not include manner of death. There's that horizontal line demarcating those. The important things that I was looking at are the under or highlighted, which is why I highlighted them.
Exactly. So the ones that you highlighted, you considered are from the autopsy report. That's why you're highlighting them, right, sir? You considered them.
Correct.
Thank you. No questions, Your Honor. I appreciate that opportunity.
So I'm not going to let you argue now. I'll hear you very briefly tomorrow before we stop. But Mr. Leslie, how much longer are you going to be tomorrow?
If I could have a moment, Your Honor.
Yes.
We just got 2 more sighs from the judge, which takes us to, look at this, number 200 and 201. Okay, what I think just happened here is...
about halfway through, Your Honor.
Got 3 hours with this guy tomorrow.
I think it will take up
All tomorrow, another side.
If we can get some things quicker, I would like to do that, but given today, that's my best estimation.
So we're half a day tomorrow.
Oh, that's right.
So it may be that we have a 20-minute break tomorrow, and we finish up by 1:30 by going straight through. We've got a juror who has an appointment that we told her she'd be able to make. So I'd like to do everything we can so that Dr. Welcher doesn't have to come back or stay here another day. So let's just see what we can do, and we will do the same thing for your experts as well.
No, I understand, Your Honor, and I respect everything that Your Honor is saying. I must say, Your Honor, to state the obvious, this is a key aspect of the case, and we've got to be able to proceed through to the question. He covered a lot on his direct, and we need to properly...
And I'm not asking you to curb it. I'm just hoping that we can do it. So I will ask you tomorrow at a certain time to see whether we're able to do it with the 20-minute break and finish.
Fair enough, Your Honor.
Okay.
That would be my answer at that particular point.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All rise for the court, please.
Thank you, Dr. Welch.
Now get out of the judge's way. She's the first one out of the parking lot. She's got to go. She's got to go. Wow. What an ending to court today! What an amazing ending to court as we got a voir dire with Dr. Welcher, talking about a couple things, specifically what he considered to base his opinion on, and we heard that in his own testimony, he admitted he took it from Trooper Proctor's report, and then on cross-examination, which was Dr. Brennan crossing him on that, he's like, "No, I didn't. Didn't know it was from the CERT report. I got it from Trooper Paul." No, I thought it was Trooper Paul's. It has his name right on it. And he's like, "But it's different. His has labels on it, and mine doesn't." Anyway, what I think Alessi is doing here is he's trying to open the door to a line of questioning that has to do with both Trooper Paul's analysis, what he knew, what he was told to do, as well as the ME a little bit, and basically open up two new fertile fields for questioning that the witness is not prepared to answer. I think this is an area where Alessi will shine if he's allowed to go in. Now, we don't know if he is yet, okay? Mr. Brennan did some great redirect, or cross on this, basically saying it wasn't Trooper Paul's. You actually didn't consider any of this, right? And pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. It looks bad on the surface, but it's not in real life. So depending on how the argument goes tomorrow morning and how the judge feels, I guess, we'll see if Alessi is allowed to go into these two areas and probe a little bit deeper, where we've started to see a trend. We've started to see a lot of copy paste on this report, unrealized. Okay, that makes sense in a way because the expert is allowed, is given all this information. He's given all the information to consider and then reach his findings. But the more he perused other people's findings and use those in his report, the less value I'm seeing in $350,000 to $400,000 worth of expert testimony. So maybe we'll get some money back for the state. We'll see. All right. Melissa says, Matthew just walked in with a strawberry shake for me. I'll catch y'all tomorrow. Hello, Melissa and Matt. Hope you're both doing well. Let's see. What a day. What a day. I loved the spiciness. This witness is held up under pressure. I think I'll say it again. I think he's better under cross than he is on direct, which is rare, extremely rare for witnesses. We haven't seen that level of greatness since Dr. Joe in the Maya trial. I think was just incredible. Judge Beverly Canoni will deny we'll add 2 hours. She's already on a time pinch, but we're ahead of schedule. We got half a day tomorrow. You can buy a house in some states with $400,000. You could buy mine. I can tell you that.
Call from to accept.
Hey, this is RA. Who's on the phone? Hello.
Hey, what's up? It's AWOL. I forgot to say the name. I didn't hear the prompt.
I almost hung up on you for that reason, but you're here. How are you doing, my friend?
Pretty good. How you doing? Glad you made it back safe with the family.
Thank you. What a day in court.
Hello?
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I have an issue with this witness because as people who watch true crime, we have a tendency to look into things more in depth than a layman would. So we could have our biases as far as she's guilty or not. We might not like how Alessi does it. We have our favorite lawyers. We have lawyers that we don't like because we watch so much of this. But as the jury member who might not watch true crime, the way he goes around those answers would be annoying if you were talking to your significant other and they answered your questions like that. A normal human would look at their partner and go, what is wrong with you?
Oh, I get it from my kids.
So it's they might be on that jury like,
Mom, he's hitting
upset.
me. I'm not hitting him. I'm pushing him with my hand. It's different. It's this back and forth. It's like, just answer the dang question, right? We both know what we're talking about. Just say yes or no.
Correct. And now, as a true crime watcher, I will admit that he did throw Alessi off. I'll give him that. He definitely threw Alessi off of how Alessi normally attacks Cross. But as a layman sitting there, you almost want to go, if I was that lawyer asking these questions, I would be so mad right now.
Yeah.
That's my only issue. I can't see, other than him messing up Alessi.
This was incredible testimony for the prosecution today. Not only did he throw him off, but he did it and dropped one-liners. And if we're just doing the mic drop moments, prosecution won in this exchange. The witness held his own, really didn't concede much at all. And when he did it in a manner it's like, you're stupid and don't understand. Of course I did it that way. And it's like it gave you the impression that Mr. Alessi was not gaining any ground with the witness, and he made him fight for every bit of acknowledgement. And then when he finally gave the acknowledgement, it was like, duh, are you just barely coming to that conclusion? So it was just it was frustrating to watch, but it was also fun to watch.
Oh, it was definitely entertaining. This is what we're all here for, right? But I'm just trying to put myself in the mind of a juror where I think he didn't do the prosecution any favors. Because first of all, there's justice is on the line. There's a deceased human being. Another person's life is on the line as far as Karen. And he's being jovial, talk about, it hasn't been driven in reverse since high school. I'm sorry. Yeah. I didn't know this was a comedy show.
Yep. There's a time and a place for some of those.
$400,000 you got going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
$400,000 got us
I don't know. I think if I was on the jury,
it got us okie dokies from him.
Yeah, if I was on the jury, it would throw me off. But it would throw me off. But that's all I wanted to say. I just had to get that off my chest.
AWOL, thanks. You've got a lot of people saying, I love when you call in, love when AWOL calls. I love this caller, agree with him. So you've got some fans for sure. Thank you. Love talking to you. Thanks for calling in and weighing in.
Yes. I love everybody. Shout out to chat.
Yep, we'll see you.
And the mods.
Yeah. Yes, especially.
For not timing me out. Okay.
It was close.
All right.
We'll see you, AWOL. Bye.
Yeah. All right, later. Bye.
Okie dokie. Thanks. Big AWOL fan. Yeah, love it. Anyway, wow. So the way that everything went today, I have to say I was wrong. I thought we were going to see a whooping. Like I thought Mr. Alessi was going to deliver the whooping. He's a smaller man, but he can really pack a punch when it comes to cross-examination. And instead, he didn't gain much. But at the very end, he won if the judge allows it.
Angela.
Hello, Angela. How are you doing?
Hello. I'm doing good. I'm just going back home on my finished work about an hour ago.
Awesome.
So, full disclosure, I have missed the whole day, so I have no idea half of the stuff that happened. But Discord and X kept me informed very well.
Yeah.
So it was spicy from what I saw.
It was spicy. The jurors paid close attention. Sometimes they were on the edge of their seats. They were watching the ping pong battle back and forth between Mr. Alessi and the witness. They've been looking at the slides. They've been paying attention. They've seen some things they shouldn't have seen. They've hopefully forgotten about those. But tomorrow is going to be a new day, and it's.
Well, I'm going to be on the rewatch crew again, so yeah. Well, the AWOL what he talked about. I don't know what's that exactly about, but I mean, the methodology that he used, Welcher used, is flawed, and I started a little on cross before I called in, and I mean, he's clearly pointing out, Alessi is pointing out the flaws in his methodology. And I think that's why I caught your comments about the judge's decision and the reason for that, defense didn't object. But maybe because they wanted to, get the point across that he used a flawed methodology that is not accepted in scientific community.
Right.
For very specific reasons.
It's not repeatable.
And that's called...
It's not. There's so many variables that you can't say the outcome, because we got this outcome, we can say that this is actually the steps that led us there. In his own testimony, he was like, we move a tiny bit, we got a completely different result. And I don't know where we started.
Yeah.
So to a degree of scientific certainty, saying that this happened, I don't know how he can say that.
Also, the point of whether or not, he said something about, work is not peer reviewed because blah blah blah, but he can do a peer review in-house. It doesn't have to have a stamp as peer reviewed, but someone else can check his work. And because ARCA guys did have a third party in-house check their work and everything checked out. They said that in last trial.
Yeah.
That's why we had that third guy that did not testify. He was only his work was only to check the other two's works.
Yeah. Here's what I think is going to be very interesting in the coming days and weeks. We're going to see a battle of two expert crash reconstruction companies. And we're going to see a battle of experts as we have heard from Aperture. We've seen from two of theirs, and we're going to hear from ARCA, and we'll hear from a couple of theirs. And we're going to see the process they use, the scientific process, how they go about their testing, how they document it, if they file reports, what they're basing their assumptions on, what known variables they're working with, what they say this is a given. We can start with this fact. It's going to be interesting to see if the scientific process between the two companies is very different, and obviously we're probably going to have different results from their two tests as well. Definitely,
because the peer-reviewed, whether or not it is a stamped peer-reviewed report or article, the point is that someone else can copy your methodology and get the same result, or follow the same, and there is no way anyone inside in-house or ARCA or anybody on this planet that can copy his methodology and actually follow his methodology, not only copy but follow. It is so flawed. I mean, I caught yesterday's course last night and today, and there is so many. As someone who loves to do experiments and have done experiments based on other people's reports, I can follow the methodology step by step and recreate the experiment someone else has done and written reports on. There is no way I or ARCA or anybody on this planet can follow what he has done.
Yeah, I'll tell you, the level of investigation, the experiment he did, it's something that I could see myself doing and saying, hey, is this possible? Can this work? I think I mentioned it before we even heard about this. I want to see, when I get the taillight, I want to put it up against my arm and say, can you make these pieces fit? But at no point would I say this is a scientific proof that something happened. When I'm literally trying to cram the pieces of evidence together and see if I can make them fit together. And there's the inconsistencies, they're glaring, the major gaps in logic and reasoning and scientific process was just massive. But Angela, thank you very much. Appreciate you waiting in. Can't wait to hear what you think after you get the full rewatch, because today was a zinger. It was crazy.
Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye.
We'll see you. Bye. All right, with that, I have to go. My family is going to celebrate a family birthday party, and they've already left, I think. So, have you guys left? No? Okay, all right, I have to go. The family's waiting on me and we're late. Tonight when you go home, please hug the people you love, smile at someone, make their day just a little bit better, and please stay safe. Do go live again tomorrow morning. It's going to be a half a day, but it starts a little bit earlier than today. It starts at 9 o'clock. We'll be going live about 8:30 to 8:45. Please click the subscribe button, click the notify button, and then be here in the morning as we pick up where we left off at the same spice level, if not more. The judge has a very important ruling to make tomorrow morning as well. We'll also hear some argument before that happens, which is going to be great, and it's going to be heated, and it's just going to get better and better. So tomorrow, probably the last day of Dr. Welcher on the stand, and then prosecution's going to rest. They're going to rest. It's going to be great. You guys have a good one. We'll see you tomorrow. I'm going to go, I guess, jump on trampolines or something indoors, climb walls, hang from the ceiling upside down. It's going to be great. You guys have a good night. We'll see you.